I would like to welcome you to our regular council meeting for Monday, April 20th. We have all council members in attendance this evening. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on this land from time immemorial. If you are able, please stand for our national anthem. Looking to the Director Malanjukulo for a closed meeting report for Tuesday, April 7th.
Bondi, through you. Council met and closed on Tuesday, April 7th at 8:30 p.m. pursuant to Section 239(2)E and F of the Municipal Act 2001 to receive legal updates. And that is the extent of my report.
Director Malanjukulo, any declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council this evening? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Just gonna find it now. I think I just sent it off. So 1 second. I'm just gonna pull up the agenda here. Item 19.2.1, I believe it is. It's me. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and 19.2.11.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Shepley. Note. Looking for a mover and a seconder that we adopt the regular council meeting agenda for April 20th. We do have the addition of 2 notices of motion from Councillor Jason Mady that will be entered tonight. And we do have an addition to our delegations tonight with council approval of 8.2, Mr. Randy Vokes, who's in the audience. So looking for a mover and a seconder for the agenda as amended. Councillor McGuire-Blaze, Councillor Verbeek, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes for the April 7th meeting. Looking for a mover and a seconder that we adopt the minutes as circulated. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Guerin, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Moving on to public presentations. We do have us joining us virtually tonight, our Integrity Commissioner, Ms. Susan Craig. I will go to Director Malanjukulo to introduce her.
Through you. We did informally introduce Ms. Craig late last year because she became our Integrity Commissioner in December of 2025. For the first 11 months of 2025, we had another Integrity Commissioner, Mr. Bruce Elman. We've been in touch with Mr. Bruce Elman over the last 5 or 6 months asking for an annual report. He is not able to provide one. What he did ask me to share with council is that he had nothing of substance to report for the year, nor did he bill the municipality for any work in 2025. Ms. Craig is here to talk about her 1 month as our Integrity Commissioner. So I am able to bring some sort of report to you from Ms. Craig.
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening, Your Worship, Mayor Bondi, Deputy Mayor Shepley, members of council, and those in attendance. I'm here with you this evening virtually to table the 2025 Office of the Integrity Commissioner Periodic Report, As you know, the Municipal Act says that if I bring a periodic report, I will not give any confidential information, but just set out the activities of the office. As the Integrity Commissioner for the municipality, as many other Integrity Commissioners in Ontario, I'm guided by Justice Bellamy's recommendations, which set out the benefits of having an accountability officer. As I see in a municipal accountability role, I'm responsible for applying the rules of your code and looking at the conduct of members of council, but also providing advice and education on those rules to members, to the administration, and to the public so they can understand what the roles of a member of council entail and what they do not entail. This office, in carrying out its duties, signals to the public, I hope, that the government is committed to ethical good governance, accountability, and transparency. Rules of the code require clarification and interpretation from time to time, and that is my role. Thus, having my office creates an independent and objective third party to guide based on best practices across Ontario and also judicial decisions of the courts. While voluntary compliance is always preferred, Justice Bellamy has set out in her recommendations that there have to be consequences. While the report before you only relates to 1 month, as the director has set out, I nonetheless wanted to highlight that it's important for members, staff, and the public to know that the Integrity Commissioner doesn't adjudicate personalities. I won't allow the office to be weaponized or used for a purpose for which it's not set out in the Municipal Act. In addition, I'm not responsible for the receipt, review, or investigation of actions or decisions or omissions of town staff, town policies, meeting management, motions, points of orders, members' resolution, or decisions of council as a whole. This is a short report, given that it covers only 1 month from my appointment from the beginning of December until the end of the year. However, it's important to table a report because it's an opportunity for me to report to council and to show the public transparently what I did in the office, the informal and formal complaints, if any, activities of the office, if there were any trends or systemic issues identified. So I look forward to providing more fulsome report in the year to come. 2026, as we all know, is a municipal election year. With respect to activities of this office, the code actually sets out that from nomination day, which is August the 21st this year, to October 26th this year, this office cannot receive any code complaints and council can't receive any reports from my office. While this office can't receive code complaints during this period leading up to the municipal election, as set out in the report before you, I can still provide members with guidance on the application of the code rules and the obligations under the MCIA. I cannot, however, provide candidates, sitting members, or otherwise with Municipal Elections Act advice, and I have no jurisdiction to uphold those rules. I set out briefly in the report before you mention of comments on social media. So members are reminded, especially in an election year, to separate their personal, private campaign social media from that of an official elected official. Posting information has to ensure, if it is a campaign or personal site, that you don't have town logos, you don't have town identifiers, and you don't use town resources. But I will be providing updates on that in the months to come. Members are also private citizens, and therefore, in your personal capacity, you can have a personal political campaign account. You can identify that you are running for office in your personal campaign account, and you can also, once you have registered, and you can also support other members who are running for office through your personal account. Members should be mindful that if they use one account to communicate with the public about business of the town, even though the handle may describe the account as a personal account, comments may be captured by the code. So when you register, if you register, make sure to put on your banner, this is no longer a town social media account, but this will be used for my political campaign. With reference to the activities of this office, I received very few inquiries for that 1 month that I'm reporting about tonight, 2 from staff and 2 from members of council as it related to municipal conflict of interest advice. I wanted to conclude the report with a reminder on Bill 9. There's a bill currently at third reading at the Ledge with Bill 9 called the Municipal Accountability Act 2025. The province is proposing to strengthen accountability by creating mechanisms of enforcement to allow municipal councils the ability to remove members who commit egregious breaches of the code of conduct. We don't know what egregious breaches are, but perhaps the bill will be clear. As well, introducing enhanced powers for the provincial integrity commissioner and creating a uniform code of conduct for all municipalities. On page 4 of the report before you, I set out some of the proposed additions to that bill. I'd like to thank Director Marilyn Drucolo for assisting me as I got up to speed in my role. I'd like to thank the previous Integrity Commissioner for the work that he did, and I'll conclude by thanking you, Madam Mayor, and all members of Council. It is my honor to be serving this Council in this role, and I look forward to continuing to provide advice as needed over the year. Thank you.
Craig, for your report. Any questions or comments from members of Council this evening? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick question on Mike. I have a few concerns with this Bill C9 or Bill 9 and the fact that it's a significant shift in the possibility of removing a duly elected member. And I do like that there will be some standardization across the province, but I'm wondering, is there anything in that bill that talks to an appeal process or anything of that nature, or is it, I'm concerned with it, and I wonder if it will maybe affect how we do our business around the table sometimes.
Through the mayor to you, Deputy Mayor, I hear your concerns, and I, for one, am an integrity commissioner who provided my comments to the ledge. I personally feel that elected members of council respond to the public. They are put in office by the public, and if they are going to be removed, right now we have one way of that removal, and that is through the courts if there is a breach of the MCIA or if a person is convicted under the criminal code. So otherwise, I personally, but this is my personal opinion, don't feel that an integrity commissioner who is not elected should have the power to remove an elected official from office. That being said, you asked if there's an appeal process. If an integrity commissioner believes under Bill 9, if it becomes law, that a member has egregiously breached the code, whatever that definition will be in the bill, then it goes to the provincial integrity commissioner. So that's a sort of appeal mechanism where the provincial integrity commissioner, either her office or from a slate of members who have adjudication experience, it may be retired judges or whomever, will take a look at the decision of the integrity commissioner, determine if there have been any errors in law, etc., and then will make a determination that it will stand. And if it stands, the third check and balance will be that it will come back to council. And in order for the removal to happen, there has to be a unanimous decision of all members of council.
Deputy Mayor Shepley, any other questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, I just have a question for our administration. Will this report be posted to our website under our annual reports?
So will be.
So you could see the entire term's annual reports on integrity commissioners on our website. Thank you for coming. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the presentation by Susan Craig, the integrity commissioner, regarding the integrity commissioner annual report for 2025 be received. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Now we will bring up to the delegation podium, Mr. Randy Vokes. Randy, if you want to go back up there to the podium, press the mic. Presentation.
Good evening, everybody.
You have 5 minutes, and we're just
5 minutes. What do you mean? I need more. No, I'm just kidding.
okay. We have your presentation, so just give us a moment there.
Yeah, but actually,
Okay, go ahead.
if we could just go through the presentation, Sherry, I will really minimize my words because the presentation will speak for itself, what it's all about. And then after this, I'll just take a Q&A.
Walk us through it just a little bit high level.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might be helpful for the people listening.
So, okay, so I'll read through it. Rediscovering our community 2 wheels at a time. Definition, a group of bicycle rides. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses. Maybe I won't be able to do. Yeah, please, and thank you, Sherry.
So we're looking at a group of bicycle rides that prioritize pacing and community over speed and distance. The philosophy is it's not a race. There's no finish line, designed for all ages and all skill levels. Focuses on seeing the sights rather than getting the workout. Sounds like my kind of ride. The pace typically maintained between 13 and 16 kilometers an hour or 8 to 10 miles per hour. So the core objectives would be community integration, connecting different neighborhoods and demographics, safety in numbers, promoting urban cycling awareness by making bikes a visible primary presence on the road, supporting the local economy by ending rides at local parks, businesses, or an after party locations to support the community. Inclusivity, whether it's a beach cruiser, a mountain bike, or a tricycle, everyone is welcome. The route, usually 7 to 10 kilometers, specifically chosen to highlight historical landmarks or hidden gems. The squad is a dedicated group of volunteers called the squad or marshals who lead the pack. They cork intersections, which temporarily holds back traffic to keep the group together. They assist with mechanical issues such as flat tires or dropped chains. And the atmosphere often includes music with trailers and speakers and themed attire. Why participate? It's a social connection, a great way to meet your neighbors and make new friends. Low barrier to entry. You don't need expensive spandex. Our carbon fiber bike. Mental health, it will help produce a stress-free environment that encourages slow living and mindfulness. Urban advocacy demonstrates the need for better bike infrastructure in a friendly, non-confrontational way. Best practices for riders. Excuse me. Share the road, stay to the right unless passing. Communication by using hand signals and call out hazards like pothole. We don't have any. Stay behind the lead. Never pass the lead riders to ensure the group stays tight and safe. Leave no trace behind. Ensure the route stays clean. Pack in and pack out. Conclusion and Q&A. Final thought. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. Contact info is Randy Vokes, the organizer for the Essex Slow Roll. And the next ride is planned for June 14th, 2026 at 10 a.m., starting from the Priscilla Memorial Spitfire plane and the final route to be determined. Okay, Mr. Vokes, you want to fill in the gaps?
Well, so again, where the route has not been determined yet, but it is again going to take place on Sunday, the 14th, June 14th. And I'm really here for the process of marketing the event. So I'm looking for everybody in here. If somebody could tell somebody, that snowball compounding effect could bring hundreds. So it's the first time event. So I don't know. I have no idea what the turnout's going to be like. But again, it goes back to on assistance on marketing it. I'm hoping to have council endorse me tonight with some small funding, however they feel fit to do that, because there's a little bit of work to do. I got I got advertising in papers. I want to work with AMA 100 and see if I can work with them on it. And there's other issues. And in terms of the money, whatever I don't get or use, I'll give it back. So you may ask me right now what exactly I need the money for. I don't know, but I want the money to be there and ready if I need it. So I'll receipt it to you. The balance I'll give back. And I'll even throw in money myself if I have to. I just want the event to work, that's all. I just want it to come off good. And then the following years will be like a reflex. It'll roll itself, no pun intended. So that's it for me. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm just, again, the marketing strategies would really be appreciated. So if anybody's got any questions directly to me, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for coming, Mr. Vokes. I really like this idea. I'll be straight up front about that. I guess I have a few questions. Is this, are you looking to make this a an annual thing or like a periodic? It almost sounds like something that could be done every month or two if I, first, that's my first question. What's your intent? with that?
And I'm glad you asked that question, because it'll definitely be an annual thing. And it'll probably take place around the same time each year where people will know where to look for it in timing of the year. And another prelude to the event is I'm going to ask everybody if they could to make a donation. And the donation is of no given amount. It's whatever they want to give. And if what that money will be given to a charity by means of lottery, instead of just dictating that it's going to go to cancer, it's going to go to diabetes or Alzheimer's, whatever it may be, we will put the names into a wheel, if you will, what people want the money to go to, and then by draw, we'll pull that name out, and that's who the money goes to. So it's a little fair process instead of just dictating where the money goes.
Sorry, through the mayor. Did you say like would there be a fee for the riders? Okay.
It's a donation. If you don't want to pay anything, you don't have to pay anything. But whatever we can get contributed by the group, we'll give it to a charity of choice by means of lottery, instead of somebody just saying it's going to go to them.
Thank you, through the mayor. Randy, it's great to see you. I like the concept as well. I'm assuming that you're before us because there's going to be needing some temporary closures of streets. Is that what this is? And have you sat down with Jake or anyone in administration and discussed that?
Yes. Again, that's one of my reasons for being here. If I could have a direction from administration or from council that will help me or assist me on getting to make sure that we have police, ambulance services, any emergency essentials. I'd like to have an ambulance on staff there. Not that we would ever need it, but in the event we do, it's there. We don't have to call them and wait for them to come. They're already there.
Further that through the mayor. And is it like a large parade, so to speak? Everyone starts at the same time and ends at a destination at the same time, with some falling behind. So like a bigger parade route?
Yeah. It's going to be doing what we're going to do. Divide it into a section where youth and children, if you will, can kind of hang back with marshals or with adults, and we'll put them through a little course where they can ride while the parents go out for the slow roll itself. There's a little bit of work to do. So again, I'm here requesting that anybody who wants to help me in terms of joining a committee. I'm trying to structure a committee together. I certainly would like to see maybe a member of council if you have time to help and sit on that committee periodically as needed or continuously. We'd love to have you there. So it's an event that takes place in the Toronto, Mississauga area. And I encourage anybody tonight, later on, if you really get bored, to just go on YouTube and type in slow roll. And you can really see, and even here tonight, if somebody could bring it up just for a 2-minute segment on it, everybody could see exactly what I'm talking about. Would that be possible?
No, I'm not,
Okay,
not
that's
tonight.
fine.
It just, we do have a really busy agenda. Any other questions? Councillor McGuire-Blaze?
So I guess my question is to administration. Mr. Volk says that he talked to administration. What is this next steps from administration? What does he need to do? What's on the to-do list? What do we need to do as a council to allow him to have the event?
Through the mayor. So the team has met with Mr. Vokes to go over the event, and one of the things that have been the topic of discussion at this point is the route that's to take place. The route is proposed to go through a large section of the Essex Center area. So with a road closure of that nature, we don't even have enough barricades to do that. So we have reached out to some other local municipalities with some ideas and ways that they go about it. And the one we heard back from Tecumseh, and they used a lot of their multi trails, which was one of the suggestions that we had, was if we can stick everybody on the multi-use trails and then we can cross at the PXO crossings, then that would be the best, most efficient way. That way we don't have to necessarily shut down streets or have people entrapped within the square area. So that's really the thing that we're trying to iron out at this point, is to make sure that that road is there. And if that's not an option, then we'd have to look at some different options. If it's a moving road closure where maybe there's police on each side of the road closure so that it's contained within that area and people know that it's coming. That's another option that we could have on the table. So that's the biggest part of it right now. In principle, everything else is not going to be an issue. And we would outline all the recommendations like the insurance requirements, advertising, anything else as part of the event. We have a conditional letter that we would send giving all those instructions.
So I heard Mr. Vokes ask us for funding. Is there any funding for something like this already in our budget?
Through the chair, and I'll pass it over to Dr. Chadwick in a brief moment just to expand on a potential grant application that could be submitted by yourself, potentially in partnership with another organization to ensure that you qualify. At this point, because it is an election year, there are no council discretionary funds to be awarded. And at this point, we've also dispersed all of our community partnership funding. So that grant stream that I'm referring to, I'll let Director Chadwick expand on it briefly, would be the only form of funding available for an event request such as.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, CAO Drusevich. So the funding stream or the grant stream that is being referred to is called the Tourism Events Fund. And there are certain criteria to become eligible, and one of which has been mentioned, which is partnership with a charitable organization, a nonprofit organization. We'd be happy to take a look at the criteria and work with you, Mr. Vokes, to see about A, eligibility, and B, the amount. Upwards to about 2,000, I believe, could be eligible. I'm going to look to the other side to Manager Silvera. Right around the 1 to 2,000, or 1,000 is max. 1,000 is max. So we can get in touch and work the details out.
Put your mic on.
Town works on a multi-million-dollar budget per year, and I'm here asking for a couple $100, and I can't. I'm hitting walls on getting that. Anyways, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Councillor Hammond?
Sounds to me like the cart is ahead of the horse here. Great idea, but you don't have any destination for anything. You don't know how much you want. You don't know who the charity is going to be, which is criteria. Yeah, I get that. Well, pull something out of the hat.
Ask if there's no crosstalk. Mr. Vokes, just please, the Councillor Hammond has the floor right now.
It sounds to me like you're still in the planning stages, not ready to come to council and ask for money.
I'm going to ask for a motion that we receive the presentation from Mr. Randy Vokes and have administration continue to work with him for possible routes and possible funding streams. Councillor Verbeek, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any other questions? Thank you for coming. All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. And any members of council can reach out to you if they can volunteer or have any other ideas. Deputy Mayor Shepley?
If at the end of the meeting or somewhere, I don't know, I know when you flashed the presentation, we did see Mr. Vokes' contact there. If we could somehow have that where we can make that available to anybody who was watching so they could get in touch with you.
Thank you for coming. Moving on to reports from administration, we have Capital Works and Asset Management 2026-05, our hot mix asphalt program update. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the hot mix and asset management report be received for information. Moved by Councilor Verbeek, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Mr. Macbeth, can you just give members of the public just a high-level synopsis of what projects are being covered, please?
Sure, through the chair. This year, we partnered with the County of Essex again to tender our hot mix asphalt, or at least part of our hot mix asphalt program. The two roads that we tendered with the County of Essex were, sorry, the two areas that we tendered with the County of Essex were in Essex Center, Joan Flood Drive, from Woodview to the edge of the existing phase of the development. And the other area is in McGregor in Ward 2, where we're looking to complete the area of Grandin Center and Charles Street from around County Road 11 to their limits. And we have a provisional road for Scott Lane that we tendered, but at this time, we're not recommending proceeding with awarding that, and we'll look to come back to council with a report if we can fit that in our budget after we've completed enough work. Thank you.
So if something happens and those jobs come in under budget, fingers crossed, then we could potentially go forward again with that provisional road?
Through the chair, yes. That is our goal once we find out how much funds will be remaining.
The Rabeek.
Through the mayor, of course, I was really happy to see this. However, I'm hoping you said center, you meant Stewart, right? Because that's pretty important.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Stuart, thank you.
But I did want to point out that I fully understand these mics. I fully understand why Scott didn't make the cut, but as the mayor just stated, I really hope we just don't push it up. If there's a way to have it done, it is where the community boxes are. It is where people from the public come and access the walking trail. It'd be great if it made the cut. I do understand why it hasn't, though.
I have Councilor McGuire Blaze, then Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Thanks through the chair. Looking at Joan Flood Drive, do we know approximately when this will start? I do know that you probably have to do some fixing to the grates and stuff. I read that in the report, but when can we expect it? I know there's probably a long list, but where do we sit on that long list from the county?
Chair. So right now, the county still needs to award their tender as well. We are awarding ours, and the county will award ours with theirs. Once that has been done, we'll reach out to the contractor to find out. You are correct. We do need to do some curb repairs and some catch basin box outs that need to be fixed before we can mill and pave the road. But we will reach out to them, and the goal will be to try and get them in as soon as possible. So I can provide an update to council on that once that date becomes available. But our goal is hopefully to get that be one of our first projects if we can, because then we'll know where we stand financially to see if we can fit in Scott Lane. Thank you.
So overall, the report looks good. I wonder if you could take a moment, just speak to the cost of asphalt uncertainty that we're dealing with, and maybe explain how we can manage to deliver our road program with the uncertainty we're currently in, and what those prices, how they're affecting what you had planned to do this year.
Absolutely. So through the chair. So yeah, so obviously with the war in the Middle East, we'll call it, oil prices have been higher, right? And at the beginning of the year when we tendered these works, we don't yet have the asphalt plants open. So we don't know yet how much asphalt escalation we might face, and oil prices obviously affect that because that's one of the main components. So until we start getting monthly postings, which won't happen until about the middle of June, we won't really know how much more we're paying for asphalt escalation if we get any of those works even completed. So once that's kind of where we're seeing it. And because there's so much uncertainty and unknowing when this will end, whether the provisional works, we're confident we can get all the other roads in. It's just we want to make sure that we leave this, enough space there, because we are uncertain on, because there are other, as the next report will come, there is another section of road that we're doing is quite large, and that one might be impacted as well. So thank you.
Members of council. I just want to again thank our administration for being progressive and working with the county. I know we're one of the only municipalities, locals that work with the county to partner with roads, and it's worked out quite well for us. So I have a mover and a seconder, correct? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Moving on to, excuse me, Capital Works and Asset Management 2026-06, the Colchester Village Water Service Replacement and Road Rehabilitation Phase 1 tender results. I meant to ask this for the last report, but I didn't. I'm wondering if we could get it up on the screen and show the report. It may be a little challenging, I know that, but it really helps for those watching at home if you can pull up the area that's being worked on, because it's kind of interesting. Mr. Macbeth, can you just please walk us through this one as well?
So this tender was for the replacement of water services in the village of Colchester. The streets involved are Harrison Street from Dunn to County Road 13, and Jackson, Sydenham, and Bagot from Harrison down to County Road 50 for the map that's shown up on plan. We also have we're going to recompact the granular, fix any soft spots, and pave this road. So all the construction costs fit within budget, but this was a design by RC Spencer Associates. We're recommending sole sourcing to them for the on-site and CA works to do the payments and make sure everything is done to our specifications. And unfortunately, with their fees, that does put us over budget. So we have a request for additional funds to come from the Ward 3 water reserve to help cover this shortage. Thank you.
Putting that visual up, it's really helpful. I'll get a mover and a seconder, and then we can have discussion that the Capital Works and Asset Management report be received, and that council award the Colchester Village Water Service Replacement and Road in the amount of $862,914.62, including non-refundable harmonized site inspection, including as-built drawings and end of maintenance to RC Spencer Associates in the amount of $71,435.52, including non-refundable HST, and that council approved the additional funding of $38,331.20, including non-refundable HST, above the approved water main replacement project for RC Spencer Associates consulting fees from the town's water reserve for Ward 3. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Allard. Any questions or comments to this? Councillor Allard.
Yes, just one question for administration. When would this project start and how long would it take?
Through the chair. So assuming the project is awarded tonight, we'd get a PO out to the winning proponent and see what their schedule would be. We're hoping that they would start this work sooner than later, but it takes a few weeks for locates to come in, and we'll have to see what other work they currently have scheduled based on other contracts they've won. But the goal would be to have the works done and completed by, I'd say, early summer at the latest, because once again, we want to know whether or not we can move forward with provisional works in McGregor, because a large portion of this work is coming from our hot mix asphalt because of the road costs. And just so council is aware, we do have a contingency built into this project already to help cover asphalt escalation. And if we don't need it, we won't need those extra funds. It really depends on how much we run into when we start digging in the ground. So thank you.
Other questions, comments? Councillor Mady.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. It's pretty exciting to see some work getting done in Colchester. I think that's an area that's going to need it. I just wanted to make sure we're going to replace like for like in that area, right? When we repair the asphalt, put on a new asphalt, the road's going to look the same, just new after as it did today.
See, we're not making it any wider. We're not doing any other changes. It is just milling and replacing the asphalt. I believe we've tendered for 90 millimeters of asphalt to be placed back in, which is roughly the equivalent or slightly higher than what's currently there. Thank you.
Echo what you're saying there, Councillor. It'll be exciting for Colchester Village. It's their turn to complain about construction. So, any other questions, comments? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to Economic Development 2026-02, report on municipal accommodation tax. Our Manager of Economic Development, Nelson Silvera, is here. Welcome, Nelson.
Mayor, I'll just have a moment to pull up the presentation here. That's great. Thank you so much. We can just flip to the next slide, please. As council is aware, this isn't our first time discussing municipal accommodation tax. We're actually back to council and presenting some of the findings related to administration's investigation into municipal accommodation tax. To give some background here as well, this is part of council's strategic plan and completing one of council's strategic action items. It's also about aligning ourselves with regional municipalities who are also investigating the viability of implementing a municipal accommodation tax. As much as this was identified by council, is also facilitated by Tourism Windsor Essex Peely Island. Next slide, please. So as previously stated, council directed administration to investigate MAT further and come back with our findings and recommendations, which we've done and we're presenting today. This presentation report includes our research, stakeholder engagement activities, and financial analysis and recommendation for council's consideration. Next slide, please. So MAT, we believe that it presents a clear opportunity for the town of Essex. It has the potential to create a dedicated and sustainable tourism funding stream for the municipality. It allows the town to shift some of the financial burden away from local taxpayers onto visitors. And ultimately, it supports the local economic growth by reinvesting in tourism and our local business community. Next slide, please. You can flip to the next one as well. Perfect, thank you. Administration developed a community survey, which we posted for a period of 1 month during September of 2025 to gather broader feedback from the public and stakeholder groups. The survey aimed to collect input on MAT and its potential use, was distributed online through the town's website and social media channels. So we had a total of 85 respondents to that survey, which equates to less than 1% of the total town population. From residents to accommodation providers participated in the survey as well. Next slide, please. So just want to break down some of the responses that we received. Respondents were asked whether they would support the introduction of a 4 to 6% visitor paid MAT if revenues were transparently reinvested into local tourism and community enhancements. About 35 indicated yes, 50% no, 14% not sure, and about 17, or I guess 20% of the total sample did not respond to the question. Slide 6, please. We can move on. Thank you. Perceived economic impact. We asked if respondents were or believed that increased investment in tourism can have a positive economic impact on local businesses and the broader community. Nearly 67 said yes, 18% no, 15% not sure, and a total of 17% did not respond to the question. Next slide, please. We asked if a dedicated tourism funding source beyond local taxpayer dollars to support tourism promotion was of importance. 35 indicated very important, 24% somewhat important, another 24% not very important, 15% said not very important at all. Next slide, please. The next question was around whether the public believed that implementing a MAT was a fair way to generate revenue and help reduce the financial burden on residents and taxpayers. 37% said yes, 50% no, 12% not sure, and a total of 13% did not respond to the sample. Next slide, please. Accommodation providers. So whether they believed accommodation providers like hotels, motels, short-term rentals should contribute to tourism development through a visitor paid fee, such as a MAT. 38% said yes, 47% no, and 14% not sure. Slide 10, please. We can just, there we go. We also hosted a specific session for accommodation providers in November of 2025. So administration extended the invitation to about 128 accommodation providers, and this includes short-term rental operators, bed and breakfast owners, hoteliers, and other types of accommodation providers via email. A total of 12 accommodators attended the session, and 1 submitted a letter in absence of attending. That accounts for roughly 10% of accommodation providers. Administration provided a presentation that outlined municipal accommodation tax, what it was, specifically the role of operators, how funds could be used, what they could be used for, the potential benefits to the town as well. The CEO of Tourism Windsor Essex Peely Island was also there and attended the stakeholder session and provided a presentation on MAT, focusing on visitor trends, regional occupancy rates, success stories from TWEPI and their partnership with the City of Windsor. Upon completion of the presentation, town administration engaged in a question and answer period with attendees, and there were several themes that were raised. Clarity on how the program would work, the administrative burden 2 ways, not just on town administration, but also on the accommodators to collect and remit the tax. And then an understanding on what the return of investment of MAT would actually look like. Next slide, please. So importantly, they also expressed a desire to be involved in how funds were used if this was to be implemented. This reinforces the importance of clear communication and governance when implementing such a fee. Next slide, please. We can keep going. So what we looked at in terms of quantifying the actual MAT and what it would look like in the town of Essex from a financial perspective. So based on current data, Essex generates roughly $7.8 million in annual accommodation revenue. So the way that we calculate that is the number of available units versus the number of available days in the year that those units can be rented, and the estimated occupancy rate. So at a 4% rate, this equates to roughly $315,000 per year. For visitors, the impact is relatively small, about $8 to $12 a night on an average $212 stay. A 4% fee would be consistent with where other municipalities start off when implementing MAT. It's not expected to have adverse impact. Next slide, please. So that's what a breakdown would look like. Again, MAT would need to be a split 50% with the town and with Tourism Windsor Essex Peely Island. And then you have a breakdown of what a 4%, 5%, and 6% MAT would look like. Next slide, please. The town also investigated collection options. So 2 primary options for collecting MAT were identified. A town-led model or third-party model. The key difference really comes down to cost versus control. Both approaches are used across Ontario municipalities. Half of MAT municipalities use the Ontario Restaurant Hotel Motel Association as a collection agency. So we looked at an internal model as well. Provides more direct control, but also comes with higher administrative requirements and cost. So that's estimated up to $75,000 annually if that was something that we do internally. So this results in obviously a significantly lower net revenue from MAT, roughly $120,000 for the town and $120,000 for TWEPI. It would also require additional staffing capacity, equivalent to 0.5 of a full-time position, in addition to internal processes and systems in place for tracking MAT collection and remittance. We also looked at the third-party model, which through the Ontario Restaurant Hotel Motel Association significantly reduces the administrative burden on our staff here locally. Costs are much lower, approximately $10,000 to $13,000 annually. That's a $30,000 startup fee plus about $10,000 for them to actually collect and remit the tax. This results in a net revenue of about $151,000 for the municipality. And it's a proven system that already works across Ontario. It also improves compliance and efficiency. We also had discussions with the City of Windsor. They had a proposed collection model. However, we just did not receive the information we needed to proceed or present to council and make an informed decision. Next slide, please. So as you can see, like we're talking significant amount of money here. It's not a drop in the bucket. It's quite a large portion of revenue that could be potentially used for tourism initiatives within the town of Essex. Next slide, please. So from a local context, this is what we would be, you could potentially use MAT funds for. Everything from, events locally to different types of infrastructure that benefits residents and tourists. So we're not just talking about the tourist population, but the residents that actually use the variety of different types of facilities that we have here at the town of Essex. That 151,000 is also equivalent to almost 0.75% of an annual tax increase. So that's something to note. Next slide, please. So from a regional context, there's the other 151,000 as well, right? So that could be used in partnership with TWEPI for cross-border marketing campaigns, destination development activities, event promotion, seasonal tourism draws, sector-specific promotion as well, travel media partnerships, and a variety of different programming that would benefit accommodators, tourists, and residents within the town. I think the one thing that I would like to stress is that you just have to establish a memorandum of understanding between both our organizations to ensure that those funds are used in a proper way and in alignment with the town's priorities as well. Next slide, please. So this gives a breakdown of where other municipalities are at in the process. So regionally, municipalities like the city of Windsor have already implemented MAT. They started at a 4%, like we're proposing here, and then moved to a 6% just last year. Others are actively exploring or moving forward with it as well. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about governance and transparency just briefly here of what this would look like. So I think governance would be a key component to the success of a program if council was to adopt something like this. We would need a clear bylaw outlining what the reporting structures would look like, an annual reporting on how the town spent MAT funding. Accommodation providers would have some type of input on how that funding would be spent, but ultimately, council would retain final decision-making authority. This ensures accountability while maintaining strategic oversight of a proposed MAP program for the town of Essex. Next slide, please. So where do we go from here? There are a lot of resources required to develop the next steps of this program, and that's why we're here today. We wouldn't want to proceed with writing a bylaw without council's direction, so that's what we're looking for. Next slide, please. So the next steps really council direction, which would happen today. If council was to proceed, we would draft the MAP bylaw for internal and legal review this spring. By July and August of this summer, the MAP bylaw would come back to council for adoption. In the fall of this year, we would have to execute agreements with memorandum of understanding with TWEPI, an agreement with the Ontario Restaurant Hotel Motel Association, to develop the programming, the reporting, and everything to make it a smooth transition for our accommodation providers. In fall of 2026 as well, a 60-day notice period to accommodation providers that a MAT would be implemented within the town. In January 1st, you would have a MAT kickoff date for accommodators. And then in spring 2027, you would have your first quarterly reporting and remittance to the Ontario Restaurant and Motel Association for collection. Next slide. And that's kind of where we're at in terms of the work that administration has done to this point. Looking for further direction from council and happy to take any questions related to the presentation, the report, and any of the results.
All right, I have Councillor Guerin first.
Thank you, Mayor. To administration, I'm in support of it right now. I've just got some questions and some clarification. 2025 and 2026 budget, how much tax dollars do we allocate towards tourism? That's one question I have. And the other question, piggybacking that, is how many grant dollars do we get? Do we apply for grants for tourism? I'm wondering if we went with the mat, would we still be eligible to say double dip and still get grants while charging that kind of money?
Chair, our understanding is right now, when we look at grant programs, we would be allowed to access, it would be considered our contribution of funding. So we would still have access to grant funding. And let's just give the Director of Corporate Services a minute to pull your other question regarding the amount of budget for tourism.
And further that, so why I was asking is just, what is the plan to adopt the mat and stop the tax allocated dollars that we're getting, or are we still trying to do that and the mat?
Through the chair, so that would be up to council's debate at budget deliberations. They could choose to offset any current tourism initiatives, reduce the tax rate accordingly, or they could choose to enhance the level of service.
Garen, I know we did pull a $25,000 tourism study out of the budget this year. I remember that specifically because we knew that this was coming. Director Rowe, do you have more information?
Yes, further and through you, Mayor, further to your point, we did have tourism initiatives in the draft budget. We do have an events and tourism budget center, which includes approximately 13,000 annually funded from tax rates. And so I believe that going forward, the funds raised through MAT could be directed in the manner in which council feels is a priority for that year. And the recommendations in the report, which Mr. Silvera can speak to further, is some of the capital projects that are brought forward annually or maybe redirected to MAP funding that could be applied to the revenues that we bring in and retain here in the town. The beauty of having the MAT revenue to tap into is that it directs dollars towards these projects that is not raised through taxation, some of which are harder to prioritize when during budget time we're talking about critical infrastructure. So I believe that's the intent going forward.
McGuire Blaze.
Thanks through the chair. First, I want to acknowledge the work that administration has done on this report. It's clear there's been significant effort to review our options, engage our stakeholders, and try to present a path going forward. So I appreciate all the work. However, I do have a couple of concerns. How do we anticipate getting our STRs to comply with the MAT tax, so that way it doesn't put a burden on the more structured institutions like our hotel, bed and breakfast, and campsites?
Through you, Madam Mayor, all of the regulations and rules would be set out in a bylaw and enforced through the bylaw, and council can make the determination in terms how we enforce MAT. If MAT isn't paid by certain property owners, there are mechanisms for enforcement that can be worked into a bylaw.
Through that, the question is, my neighbor has a short-term rental. What if they don't report that they've rented it out 56 times over the last year, and they report they've only rented it 25 times? How do you now police that?
I will pass it off to our manager of ECDev, but there are certain programs that we can purchase that helps us monitor how much the accommodation is booked. One really good thing for our posture as a municipality is that we have the STR bylaw, so that makes us very well suited to implement this quite easily. My understanding is bylaw department feels fairly confident that they have captured all of the STRs. What we would do in the parameters of that bylaw is request reporting information, and we would ask them to declare that it coincides with any income tax return that they might be declaring. And then we could also consider the tool of adding to their taxes should they not pay it. So we would build in all sorts of different auditing techniques into the bylaw directly.
That kind of goes right into my next question. We've heard consistently from administration that we're operating with limited staffing resources. This report indicates even with a third-party model that there is still ongoing oversight and coordination requirements. So I think it's reasonable to ask, are we in a position that we can take on this without adding another full-time job come budget?
Through you, Mayor, when the team who evaluated the MAT implementation met and considered our option for internal versus external, we really had to evaluate to what extent we felt the implementation of this program would result in administrative time or burden. We do believe that there will, depending on the model that we move forward with, but I'll speak to the option where we have third-party administration as that's our recommendation tonight. The third party would take a lot of the burden of receiving their remittances, checking them, and remitting the funds. And so it would be on administration on a quarterly basis to carry that through and record and do the reporting to council. We feel at this time that the capacity within the finance team with the third party Ontario Hotel Motel Association would be manageable within our current workload. If we were to go with the other model, we do feel that some overtime may result at varying levels in order to accommodate. So that is baked into the financial analysis in the impact section at the bottom of the report. So I'm hoping that that addresses your question depending on the option we move forward with.
I have a hard time believing that come 2027 budget, you won't be asking us for another full-time staff, because this is saying with a third-party model, you're still looking at a half of a full-time position, 0.55 of a full-time position annually. So if we are already running, am I incorrect in reading that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the half full-time equivalent is if we were to be in an internal model, there's no additional staff capacity required or additional hire for a full-time position if it's a third-party model.
Okay, so you're saying that it is not going to take any of our administration time. No bylaw, no admin, no taxing. Like, don't tell me, don't sit here and tell us that it's not going to take time, because we're smart, intelligent people. We know that it's going to take our administration's time. My question is, how much time with a third party? Sitting here in this chair for 3 years, every time you say we add something, it adds, come budget, well, we are going to need to add another position because we added this. So how much are we actually asking for? And are we running so lean, which is what we've been hearing over and over again? We're running lean, it's all over. How lean are we running? Do we have a person to take this on? Or will in 2027, you be asking us, we at least need to hire a part-time person to cover this MAT tax?
Chair, so no, there's no additional request for staff right now. If council recalls, we did approve a new position in finance. And so the intent is that these duties, we consider them nominal in conversation with the administrator. It basically is the exercise of issuing an invoice. They do a lot of the follow-up. And so at this point, no. And within budget, we can make reference to this report in the future as well.
And through the chair, and what about bylaw? Bylaw following up with all of these and making sure that they're in compliance, making sure that they're paying their bills. How does bylaw fit into that?
Through the chair, when the STR bylaw was introduced, basically we feel very confident that they caught most of the STRs that were potentially operating outside of our bylaw. And so what we plan to do is introduce tools in the bylaw that doesn't require bylaw visits. And it would be similar to the tax collection process. That would be the intent. And so we would use mechanisms such as adding the properties to tax bills. And I'll pass it on to the director for further collection efforts. But we did analyze how we currently collect taxes, and we believe that we would just add it onto that staff's position.
In working with Mr. Silvera on the third party option, it is my understanding as well that the third party will take steps, predetermined steps through that relationship to actively pursue any late reporting or remitting. If it comes to the point that it needs to be escalated back to the town, as the CAO had mentioned, as a last resort, we could put on tax roll the estimated MAT that has not been reported or remitted to the town. We also have a mechanism for looking at past occupancy or what the provider has provided in past quarters and issue an estimated bill. And that would be sort of one of many tools that we could use to ensure that the reporting is accurate and the remittances are timely.
So we're going to charge a MAT tax. Let's say we go with the recommendation of 4% and we're giving half of it to TWEPI. What are we getting in return?
Through you, Madam Mayor, those conversations would have to happen one-on-one with the destination marketing organization. As mentioned in the presentation, a memorandum of understanding would have to happen. That is a discussion between administration and their administration to ensure that the projects that we're identifying are then carried out by the destination marketing organization, similar to what they do with the City of Windsor. That partnership has been around for 6-7 years now. There are a variety of different types of projects that they work on directly with the city from that directly, that is directly funded from that. So the intent is to develop an agreement that looks at the partnership and outlines specific projects that that organization will be working on behalf of the town.
If we come time and we come to the memorandum and we don't agree and we can't come to an agreement, can we not implement the MAT?
Through you, Madam Mayor, are you talking about the memorandum of understanding with the destination marketing organization? So if you're unable to come to an agreement with that destination marketing organization, I think there are other mechanisms in place to ensure that a MAT can still be implemented. It's in fact who the secondary party or third party receiving the funds, that could be up for discussion. It doesn't stop a MAT from potentially happening. It's just a matter of how do we position ourselves different to potentially find a different partner. I honestly do not think that that's going to be an issue, but yeah.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. So first, I want to thank you for the abundance of work you guys have put into this from the beginning to now to get it to where it's at. I know how hard you guys have worked on that, and I understand the intent, and I can see the real potential and benefits that we could have. But given that we're in our final 6 months of this term, I'm not comfortable moving this forward right now. This is a new tax, and public feedback is a little bit mixed right now. It's also the type of issue that's going to be part of the broader discussions with residents as we head into the next term. I think this is something that we should be considered by the next term of council, so it has their full mandate behind this decision. So when it's appropriate, I would like to make a motion that we defer this to the next budget for 2027.
Hands up, so I'll accept that motion. Will you second that motion, Councilor Mady? Then we could start discussing the motion. Okay, so the motion is to defer to budget. Councilor Mady?
You, Chair. Yeah, great work. I appreciate all the work on it, and I do appreciate the comments to the short-term rentals and all the work that was put into that, and to how they became a much more positive influence in our area than they were at the very beginning. That being said, I think we kind of owe it to protect them a little bit too. Adding a MAT tax on something that's not being regional concerns me now. If it was Windsor Essex and the entire Essex region was taking care of it, then we wouldn't have to worry about pricing ourselves out. But already our closest neighbors already opted out of this. So if the other areas in Essex opt out of this, then all of a sudden we're going to become 4, 6, 10% higher than anybody else. And I think that could really negatively impact our tourism business that we already have. So I would definitely agree with our deputy mayor that a little bit more time on this. Maybe we don't have to be the first out of the gates on this one. We could sit back a little bit and see how our neighbors play out, react accordingly.
To defer to 2027 budget discussions. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. I also want to thank our staff for the great work on this file, and hopefully we can pick it up. And my one comment is I did go to the presentation at the Colchester Community Center, and I did see that if the county in general doesn't jump on the MAT bandwagon, we will have a huge gap in marketing tourism compared to the city of Windsor. There was another presentation there that night by TWEPI that maybe we can have in the future going forward, because it really showed the discrepancy in marketing dollars. And that was kind of enlightening for me. So thank you. Moving on, we have more fun reports. Economic Development Annual Report. Director Chadwick.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, and good evening, Council. So under item 10.4, the purpose of the report is to introduce you to the inaugural Economic Development Year in Review infographic and to introduce you to future quarterly newsletters and consolidation of reporting. So as you'll see in the attachment to the report, we've provided Council with a comprehensive summary of the ECDEV division's activities, achievements, key outcomes, and more in the form of an infographic or newsletter of sorts. The key areas of focus that you'll see in the year in review include supporting local business growth and, of course, retention, strengthening tourism, and promoting the town as a premier place to live, work, and visit. So moving forward, and in an effort to enhance awareness and transparency, we will be introducing Council to quarterly economic development reviews, also in the form of infographics. Our plan is to consolidate multiple reporting streams into one cohesive document and will not only include what you see here, such as the business retention expansion activities, tourism, strategic initiatives, but also tourism events fund reporting, CIP reporting, and the building activity and development overview, and potentially other relevant reports. We thought we would take this opportunity to consolidate the reports for you. So you are welcomed and encouraged, rather, to share this year in review with residents and businesses, and of course, the future quarterly reviews. The performance metrics and project updates are certainly worth sharing. Thank you.
Director Chadwick, my question is to potentially maybe the CAO in our communications. How can we start sharing some of these good news stories on our social media, maybe even little parts of this now that we have a new communications position?
Yes, that's a great idea. And so we'll make sure that this content's uploaded to the website, and then I can work with our manager to pull out some highlights to put to our socials.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from members of council? At this point, I'll get a motion on the floor and then we can have further comments that the 2025 Economic Development Year in Review be received for information. Councilor McGuire-Blaise, Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any questions, comments? Councilor McGuire-Blaise.
Thanks through the chair. On the last page I'm just going to go off the infographic because it's easier. It says housing needs assessment, develop a housing assessment to better understand current and future housing needs. This report will guide the creation of a housing action plan in 2027. Once we have this assessment, how can we implement it? How do we help development actually implement the assessment? Obviously, we know we're going to need the hot topic of Essex Ward 1. We're going to need social housing. How do we actually get that to happen? We can write the paper right now, but how do we make it happen?
Councilor McGuire-Blaise, right up my alley. Great questions. We live, breathe affordable housing and attainable housing these days. So the housing needs assessment is step one into preparing a housing action plan. It's really multifaceted because we also at the same time a couple of years ago created an affordable housing task force. In fact, we have someone here tonight with us to kind of speak to it, not really speak to it, but to hear about what I'm about to say. The affordable housing strategy is soon going to be presented to council for consideration. And as a part of the affordable housing strategy, it identifies only one, we'll say, spectrum, one component of the housing spectrum, which is affordable housing. And it will have several action items over the short and medium term to address the gap in affordable housing. Some of these actions can also be rolled into a housing strategy, a housing action plan for market rate, or just to increase the number of units, maybe in the form of multi-units, for example. So the housing needs assessment really is that key. It's the foundation to it all. But because council's direction a couple of years ago as a part of the strat plan was to create the affordable housing task force, it kind of came at right around the same time. They will have synergies. And in fact, as mentioned, the actions should be quite seamless from one strategy to the other.
Sorry, I had another question. What is the difference between the business concierge program and the roadmap to ribbon cutting?
For you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so the roadmap to ribbon cutting is a document that we're working currently, which outlines the development process within the town of Essex to ensure that developers and investors and different types of development folks that approach us for development understand the processes within municipal government, from putting a application together to getting a shovel in the ground to ensuring what specific timelines are, permits that they need, the proper steps to development is outlined in a specific document for developers. And then the business concierge service is a program that we're currently working on. We're waiting on some a potential grant funding announcement that will help us with that program specifically, but that would be a some municipalities call it a white glove service, other call it a business concierge service, work directly with developers, including CIP applications for industrial development, and a more hands-on approach to have a one-stop shop for ECDev. So instead of developers asking questions to multiple departments within the town, they would have a dedicated contact person to have those one-on-one conversations with and streamline their questions in a more appropriate manner.
Through the chair, is our roadmap different than other municipalities? Are we recreating something that already exists? I don't understand why is ours unique? Do we do something different? How come we have to invest in a roadmap and other municipalities don't?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're trying to make development as transparent as possible, and having developers understand that there are timelines to certain development applications. So for instance, like helping developers understand that a site plan may take X amount of weeks or months to get approved, I think really helps them in terms of trying to understand how long a development takes. That's just one component of it. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to give them as much information as possible and show that we're open to business, but also setting expectations from a town perspective as well.
Mr. Chadwick.
Through the chair, just a couple of points because Councillor McGuire Blaze brings up some good questions. When it comes to comparing municipalities, as the development occurs, definitely draw on best practices across Essex County, but tailored to the resources and staffing complement that we currently have in our department. When it comes to the housing needs assessment, a really important point is that having a completed housing needs assessment could potentially make us stronger when it comes to provincial grant applications. So that, especially when we're applying for infrastructure that's related to growth. So that really helps our posture in that regard.
Members of council? We have a motion on the table, correct? Okay. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to development services, our climate change adaptation annual report. We will go to Director Chadwick.
Thank you once again, Madam Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide a progress update to Council on the status of initiatives and action items identified in the Council adopted Climate Change Adaptation Plan. It's really hard to believe that 5 years has gone by since Council first adopted Climate Ready, the town CCAP, back in 2021. It has been a very valuable tool, providing administration with speaking of roadmap, but a roadmap on how we can prepare and adapt to the impacts of climate change through policy, process, infrastructure, and communication developments. So this 5th and final annual report highlights the progress made specifically between March of 2025 to March of 2026. And next up, as Council directed back in September, administration will be completing a 5-year update of the town CCAP, which we hope to initiate this summer, contingent on grant funding from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, otherwise known as FCM. Thank you.
Any questions from members of council this evening? I did send several questions via email today, which I believe administration is working on. I want to thank them for that. One of the questions that we did get on the weekend was in terms of Phragmites management in the harbor. So I know it's something that we haven't been able to really tackle yet, but it was brought up from a conservation point of view, how it's strangling out native species and animals. So it's just something that I want to keep on our radar. And then the naturalization of public lands, I did get an answer that the town received a grant. We'll be working on an area at the Harrow Soccer Complex near the tree nursery, which will be naturalized. And once I get the other answers, I will share them with council because they were some good questions and answers. Anything else from members of council? So Director Chadwick, I do have a question. We're going to do another climate action change plan. Did we apply for a grant for that, or is that something we have to do in our budget? Can you please refresh our memory, please?
Back in September, Council directed administration to apply for a grant. The grant was to complete something called a 5-year update, or 5-year review rather, of the current climate change adaptation plan. The deliverable that is coming out of that, I can't speak to whether or not it's going to be another 5-year CCAP. It could be, for example, just ongoing efforts, in perpetuity. I don't know. The work has also been identified, or rather the project's been identified in the 2026 budget as a capital item, again, contingent on that grant funding. A 70-30 split, I believe, 70%, 30%, 70% funded from FCM and 30% through the town.
On that file, looking for a mover and a seconder that the development services report on our climate change adaptation annual report be received. Councillor McGuire-Blaze, Councillor Mady, any questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Our economic development, we have our Q1 grant funding update. I'll look for a mover and a seconder. We'll get it on the table and then administration can walk through it. Councillor Mady, Councillor Hammond, and Director Chadwick, did you want to recap this one for us? Or, sorry, Mr. Silvera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So council gets this report quarterly. I want to break it down again for you. As Director Chadwick mentioned, we're looking to consolidate these economic development related reports into a quarterly review and report for council so that everything is streamlined. Some highlights in this report specifically. So the town currently has around $3.2 million in pending applications to upper levels of government and different organizations. So far, we have $127,000 in approved funding this year. With additional opportunities upcoming. The projects approved so far is student summer job positions, environmental initiatives. We have upcoming opportunities that include the Community Sport and Recreation Fund, which could be a great resource for us if we were approved. Enhancing access to spaces for everybody grant. That's to be decided when that opens in 2027. And an all risks municipal grant, which I think you guys are going to be listening to a little bit further today. And then ongoing grant applications that when they come up in when provincial and federal governments announce funding, we automatically try and identify and apply for. The one thing I did want to mention is that our municipality, our administration continues to have key conversations with funding organizations and ministries. So we recently had a meeting with the ministry over a grant application. The response in terms of how and why funding is denied is, again, I've mentioned this before to council, is usually application intakes are oversubscribed. There's way too many people applying and not enough money to give out. We did get some additional information as well regarding that some of these decisions really just prioritize needs from other municipalities over ours, if you can show enough need, which obviously we try to do, but there are other projects that are in need as well, and it's up to those funding organizations that make those decisions ultimately. So we follow up with those funding organizations to learn about, our approved projects, our denied projects, what can we change, what can we do better?
One sec. Members of administration over there, are you able to put this graph up, the denial graph up in this report, please? While Mr. Silvera is talking, so members of the public can see the work being done on the explanations of the grants that were not successful on.
And that was kind of just my last point in terms of that ongoing communication between the funders. Even when we're denied an application, we like to follow up and understand, why that specific decision was made, so that we can submit a better application next time.
I just want to elaborate. So when we presented the annual report, which would have been the last report prior to this, part of council's feedback was that they encouraged staff to come back with more, basically an enhancement on our procedure when it comes to the debrief of why we might have been denied. So I know Nelson explained the content, but I think it's important to note that we've formalized it and created a new section within this report. And like Nelson had said, we've had some really fruitful conversations with different ministries, most recently the Minister of Infrastructure, and why we were denied on the Harrow Pump Station grant. And so we were really able to dive into the matrix, how we were scored, and how we can better that application in the future.
And thank you for putting it up there. It's good for members of the public to see. Councilor McGuire-Blaise.
Thanks, through the chair. If you could go up to page 5, the bottom of page 5. Yep, right there. This one really stood out to me only because I really, really enjoyed the reason for denial. And this is what I think you guys were talking about. I just wanted the public to be able to see it. From past ones, we would just basically get received feedback, program intake was too high. But this is more detailed, and I really, really appreciate it. I just want the staff to know I really appreciate the extra effort put in here to kind of get a little bit more. So just to highlight for the public, if anybody is paying any attention, the ministry advised that funding decisions were strongly influenced by the health and safety risk is that what it is? Criterion, which is assessed based on current immediate risks rather than future risks or preventative measures. No re-intake anticipated. So that one sentence is really important for me anyways, and I hope for the public as well. I also just wanted to address on page 3, there was pending for Phragmites mapping. And I just want to know if administration got the mapping that was just done on Phragmites from IRCA. And if they didn't receive that, because we just received it, I think our last meeting a week ago, I'll just make sure that that report gets forwarded over to you, because they did highlight all the different municipalities, and maybe that if we don't get that funding for the mapping, maybe we can at least start with IRCA's mapping.
Members of council wish to speak. Councilor Verbeek.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Again, thanks to everyone involved with all of these improvements in our grant applications and presenting the information this way, and the deep dives into why we were denied when we were, and how to improve on the grant writing. I have to acknowledge the one that we received from the Canadian Wildlife Foundation and the Essex Region Conservation Area for pollinator native seed mix and wildflower plugs for our um, um, Harrow Soccer Complex. My question to administration, Jake's nodding, he knows I'm coming at him. Is there an opportunity or is there any way that we can get some of our public involved with this? Because we have a wealth of knowledge, people that are real knowledgeable in these pollinator gardens. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to get a volunteer team involved.
Through the mayor. So this is actually a partnership, I believe it was with IRCA, where they are bringing in a grade school to do work on this. So there are already volunteers that are committed as part of the activity. So hopefully that's to your satisfaction.
Answer you could give. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments from members of council? Okay. I have a mover and a seconder, correct? All right, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to our Economic Development Building Report and Development Overview 2026. Looking for a mover and a seconder that this report be received, and then we can speak to it if we desire. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councilor McGuire-Blaze, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried unanimously. Moving on to our National Day of Mourning. Director Morrissuit is here if we have any questions. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the Community Services Report be received, entitled National Day of Mourning, be received for information. Councilor Verbeek, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any questions? Thank you for doing this. This is important to us. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. We're moving on to drainage. Appointment of an engineer under Section 78 of the Drainage Act for the Austin C. Wright Drain. Looking for a mover and a seconder that council appoint Root Engineering under Section 78 to install a crossing in the Austin C. Wright Drain in accordance with the Section 22 of the Town of Essex procurement. Moved by Councilor Mady, Councilor Hammond. Any questions? Councilor Hammond?
I have one, through you, Chair, regarding the cost sharing. I'm curious as to, says that the cost sharing would be decided upon the engineering, if I'm correct. I'm just curious as to what cost sharing might be awarded to the neighbor who I'm assuming doesn't get any access to this bridge. Is this not a private bridge or is it a?
Yeah, it is a private crossing. It crosses the Austin C. Wright Drain to access private property. How the drainage process works is that all waters that bridge has a benefit to all the water that sheds upstream of that drain. So everybody's water that sheds upstream of that drain will receive an assessment.
Even though they didn't request a bridge.
Through the chair, that's how the Drainage Act works. So in essence, if somebody wanted to put it in, like just to put it in simple terms, if somebody wanted to put in a drain crossing and just wanted to simply put something in so that it could shed water through it and get access to their property, they might only put a 12-inch pipe. But if that drain requires a 36-inch pipe or a 42-inch pipe, it needs that benefit is received by all the people upstream that shed that water to make that pipe larger. If that helps simplify it.
To council orientation again. So for the new term of council, we'll get all Drainage Act lessened up. Okay, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving on to legal and legislative services. Our elections complaint policy will go to Director Malandrucolo. He's just going to share a few things.
Through you, we're on to about our fifth of about 9 or 10 election reports that we're going to bring to council prior to this year's municipal election. This one is just our complaints policy. What it sets out is that the clerk in the clerk's department can only handle with certain complaints. You'll see in the schedule to the policy that the complaints that the clerk's department can deal with are noted in there. Any complaints that the clerk's department is not allowed to deal with because they're Municipal Elections Act complaints or under other legislation that the clerk does not have authority under, goes through either independent legal counsel, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, or the OPP. Any complaints that come to the clerk's office will be reviewed to determine whether or not the clerk can deal with it. If the clerk cannot deal with it, then the complainant is referred to whoever they should be going to in order to deal with that complaint. So if there's any questions on the report, I'll answer them. But being the last meeting before May 1st, I thought it was important to let council know and to let the public know about some key dates that are coming up for municipal elections. So they are in your report, but I'm going to go through them briefly for everybody today. So May 1st, which is coming up in about 10 days, is our nomination and registration period. That's the date that it begins. So anybody who wants to file a nomination paper for potential election to an office with the municipality can begin on May 1st. The last day to file your nomination is on August 21st. They can only be filed until 2 p.m. After the 21st, the clerk then certifies the nominations, and so the official campaign period will begin upon the certification of nominations, which will happen on August 24th. On September 1st, the revision period for the voters list begins, and the voters list will begin to be distributed to candidates. On September 26th, the clerk uses a formula to determine what the final spending limits for candidates are, and the clerk distributes those final spending limits to the candidates on September 26th. In the town of Essex, we have 4 advanced poll dates. Those are going to take place on October 3rd in Essex from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., on October 7th in McGregor from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., on October 10th in Harrow from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and on October 14th in Colchester from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Friday, October 23rd, that's going to be the deadline for third-party registration and the last day to register as a third-party advertiser. On October 26th, it's our election day. Voting is going to be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's going to be polling centers in Essex, 2 in Harrow. So the Colchester ward will have to go to Harrow, and then 1 in McGregor. And all of that information is going to be distributed from now until the election day. And then on Sunday, November 15th, the new council term will commence. And then on Thursday, December 31st, will be the end of the campaign period for candidates and third-party advertisers. If anybody has any questions, I can answer them.
Drukalo, just a question on the voters list and when it starts to be distributed. Is that an Essex policy or is that something that is happening provincial wide? And just that's actually not like a long time with the voters list.
Through the chair, that's a provincial decision. That's when the information is given to us, and that's when we're able to share it. So we can't do any earlier than that.
Thank you. And further to people watching that have moved to our municipality that want to check if they're on the voters list, how can they do that and when is the end date for them to get on the voters list, please?
So through the chair, we have that information on our elections website on the town's website, our elections page on the town's website. They can do that through Elections Ontario. If the link is not there, I'll make sure that's put there. I believe it already is. And then people can go to Elections Ontario and update the voters list.
I think I've seen other towns do social media posts on their election. I'd love is that something we can do?
The chair, we have a whole list of social media events planned from now until election day, including that. One of the things that we're doing as far as the voters list goes is we're going to do a media release, hoping that the local newspapers and media catches on to it and shares that. We're also doing through all of our social media channels.
And just because there may be candidates listening, watching, sitting in this room, can candidates share the Town of Essex Facebook posts?
So through the chair, as long as it's a public post of the Town of Essex, candidates are allowed to share a link to the post, but they cannot reframe it or do anything with the post. They can share a link to the post that is public to everybody.
Just because we won't be meeting again, and those are public questions. Deputy Mayor Shepley?
Not sure if you I'm sure you might or you might not, the location for the advanced poll in Colchester, because I understand we're going to be in Harrow for Ward 3, but where would the advanced polling be in Colchester? I'm kind of curious if you have an answer for that.
Great question. I'll answer through the mayor. the advanced poll in Colchester is actually going to be at the Colchester Community Center. And the idea was that we would have the advanced poll in the local area so that Colchester residents can vote in the Colchester community if they choose to do so on the advanced poll date. Because of logistics and accessibility, it is not a good facility to do the actual election on. So the on election day for Colchester residents, they'll have to go to the Portuguese Center in Harrow. But on advanced poll date, it's going to be at the community center in Colchester.
On all the advanced poll dates, you can vote at any one of those from any of the wards you belong to.
Yes, through the chair, anybody can vote at any of the locations on the advanced poll dates.
Councilor Verbeek. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, looking for a mover and a seconder that the elections complaint policy be received for information. Councilor Garron, Councilor Hammond. Any other questions, further comments? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Infrastructure Services, All Risk Municipal Grant. We will go to Director Gerard for this one.
Through you. So this report seeks authorization to submit an application to the All Risk Municipal Grant to support implementation of a weather monitoring station at the Colchester Lagoon. The station would integrate with IRCA's existing network to provide real-time localized data on rainfall intensity, temperature, wind, and soil conditions, which would improve our ability to respond to extreme weather events and improve IRCA's flood advisory system. If implemented, the station would address a current data gap and strengthens our capacity for flood forecasting, infrastructure planning, and operational decision-making. The total project cost is $25,000 with $10,000 funded through this grant and no ongoing operating costs of the town. I'm available for questions.
Thrilled when I opened my agenda and saw this one. Councilor Verbeek, then Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Through the mayor, I too was thrilled, and with a special thanks to Director Gerard, because it was months ago we were together at that meeting with IRCA, and this was one of the many items we discussed, and you and Director Jarusevich agreed to try and pursue some funding and look into ways that this could come to fruition. So I'm really grateful that we're that much closer to having a weather station down there at the water or anywhere in this. Now, McGregor next, please.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering, with the concerns we've had in this area in particular, I'm just wondering if for some reason, if the grant we're not successful, is there any way you could bring back an option for us where we could still go ahead with this?
There is balance in the green fund. We would have to confirm with our finance team that we could absorb the additional $10,000. What I would recommend that is if we are unsuccessful with the grant, that we defer this to budget and include it in budget deliberations.
I have a couple, is this in conjunction with this similar weather station we have at the station? And would they coincide?
Through the chair. So the research station is a federal one that's operated by Environment Canada. What this network is IRCA actually has its own individual network, which actually obtains more data than the Environment Canada system. Right now, the Environment Canada system can only tell us precipitation, so how much it actually rains, and on an hourly basis. That information is not extremely useful when we're looking at intensity and looking at creating intensity, duration, frequency curves, and also looking at antecedent conditions, which is conditions related to soil moisture and the conditions before rain. So it would really integrate well into the IRCA system to be able to provide additional flood advisories. So right now, when you receive a flood advisory from IRCA, they're utilizing this system to determine what that risk level is to residents. To Councilor Verbeek's point, we did consider McGregor as an option. But with IRCA's system and the implementation of a weather monitoring station in Colchester, it would actually, the way that storms track or generally track through the area, it would cover McGregor because they tend to track over the Lake Erie system and head to typically to the northeast, not always, but generally. So it would have a benefit to the whole of the town of Essex and the region. So one of the eligibility criteria of the grant is that it's replicable at a regional perspective. So since this is already a regional initiative, we feel confident that this would be a grant to apply for this system. So so it's not exactly the same as the Environment Canada system. We do utilize that data, but even because they're federally regulated, it's very difficult for us to obtain that data, and we can only obtain what is publicly available online.
Please turn your mic off, Councillor Allard.
Yeah, Chair. I'm just wondering if this system would put out an earlier alert system, or is it still the same system?
Through the chair, it's the same system as a whole. So all the weather monitoring stations work together to develop and create the flood advisory. It would help in modeling efforts and being able to track how weather patterns occur over the region, which would also help with the alert system. So if we know what the conditions, including wind and temperature and soil conditions and things like that are before the storm comes, it will give us a better prediction of whether or not that flood advisory is a higher risk or lower risk to residents.
Director Gerard, how did we hear about this grant, this opportunity? Exciting.
So the grant is actually provided through LAS, which is a well-known provincial body. We actually obtained grant funding from LAS in the past to do other initiatives. They have a lot of grant funding related to green funds. So it's just something that we have on our circulation to keep an eye on. We have applied for this grant in the past and been unsuccessful, but we've never applied for a weather monitor.
Anything else council can do to support this, like letters from residents? Is there anything else we can do to beef up our application or to support our administration in this application?
So through the chair, we did engage IRCA and received a letter of support from IRCA along with some additional information from them. I think with the grant application closing in about a week, I think we're pretty limited in time. But again, looking at the eligibility criteria, we feel pretty confident that we have a really strong application. So it's going to likely be very competitive because they only offer this to 3 municipalities. But we will put our best foot forward, and we have a great team putting the grant application together.
Great. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the report be received and that council direct administration to make and submit an application to the All Risk Municipal Grant Investing in Municipal Risk Resiliency Program from the LAS and Intact Public Entities, and that council approve the post-budget capital expenditure of $25,000 for the Colchester Weather Monitoring Station project to be funded through $10,000 from the All Risk Municipal Grant Investing in the Municipal Risk Resiliency Program and the remaining balance of $15,000 from our Green Fund. Councillor Verbeek, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any other questions, comments? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Office of the CAO, CAO Drusevich.
Thank you. Through the chair. The report in front of council tonight provides an overview of Ontario's proposed Bill 98, being the Building Homes and Improving Transportation Infrastructure Act 2026. It also includes a brief synopsis of the recently announced Canada-Ontario Partnership to Build announcement. It outlines potential impacts to the town of Essex, which includes opportunities to accelerate housing development and access new infrastructure funding, as well as potential challenges and impacts to the town. The report includes recommended feedback for submission to the province during the current consultation period, most of which ends on April 30th. It should be noted that there was very limited time to examine the bill impacts, which proposes changes to 9 different pieces of legislation. It is a very large bill with extensive changes proposed. Administration prioritized analysis, but we were challenged by the limited window to really perform an exhaustive and fully comprehensive review. So I do just want to disclaim that. Of notable feedback within the commentary that that administration is recommending council propose and submit to the province would be the following feedback: that the province try to limit the municipal non-DC source contributions required given our current infrastructure deficits, that site plan is preferred to remain a land use planning tool under the Planning Act, and that municipalities should continue to have the oversight to control and plan for infrastructure when it comes to water from a holistic perspective, and that we should be able to make decisions on our water rates as they impact our residents and localized. So you can see from the columns all of the recommendations. There were also notable items of support, as the government really is making an effort to streamline development where possible to hit their targets of more housing. Administration collaboratively worked on this report. There was consultation by every director on this. We're happy to answer questions where we can, but there may be portions we have to take back and investigate, as there are limited details available right now. And we are currently waiting for published papers from all of our municipal partners, such as AMO, MFOA, AMCTO, on their findings of this, and we'll circulate those when they become available. Happy to answer any questions.
Vucevic, and thank you to your team for getting this together to us in time for our agenda this evening. I know that was a lot of work. I'll get a motion on the floor and then we'll speak to it. That the CAO report be received and that council direct administration to forward appendix 1 and 3 recommendations to the commentary submission to the appropriate consultation intake. Looking for a mover and a seconder on that, please. Councilor McGuire Blaze, Councilor Verbeek. Questions, comments from council members? Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Through the chair, I want to just say that I appreciate the effort that our administration put into doing this, because it's a lot of work in a really short period of time. I myself really haven't had a chance to fully read everything in the proposal, but I do agree with almost everything that we are recommending. So I think I'm in the same boat as our administration, where there's still some gaps. And then there's still some things I don't understand, but I really don't think that you have the answer to my questions. So just looking to see if the province is still wanting to give us some more explanation, some more clarity on things. But I wanted to say thank you for putting this together so quickly and everybody involved. So we have something to submit. And so far, all the recommendations I do approve. So great job.
Any other council members having comments? Seeing none. Oh, Councilor Hammond.
Did we receive this report somewhere? It's not on my agenda or anything.
Through the chair, because we were working on it right up until Friday afternoon, it was a issued addendum late Friday afternoon.
Councilor Hammond, if you go to the council calendar online and you go right to the right, you'll find it. I agree. It is a little confusing. We're not used to getting addendums, but that means they were putting the pedal to the metal right till midnight there. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Reports from our youth members. Mr. Foster, Ms. Smith.
Nothing to report.
Just a reminder that registration for the FunFest 5K is open, so if you're available on July 5th at 9 a.m. to come out and support, all the money will go to the Essex Area Food Bank. Thank you.
Is registration online?
Race roster, you can just search FunFest 5 or FunFest and it'll be the first thing to come up.
Do you have a 1K? No. Okay. County Council update, looking for a mover and a seconder that the County Council highlights for April 1st be received. Councilor Verbeek, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any questions? Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Thanks to the chair. I don't know that you guys will have the answer to my questions, but I just wanted to point out under the poverty programs report that was there. It does say the recreation assistance program that the county has in 2025. Essex had 331 participants, which is the highest in the entire county. do we know why we have one of the smallest populations and yet we have the most participants participating in this program? Is there any rationale behind that?
No, I don't know. Director Morrisseau, do you have some inside data for us on that?
Through the mayor, I do know that we've put in a lot of applications because of our successful programming. We do offer a lot of programming for a small municipality. I don't specifically have a rationale or reason at this point, but I can follow up with council and see if we can find something.
In the same report, it talks about a neighborhoods program. And I think if I read it correctly, they have a neighborhoods program in Leamington and Amherstburg. Is this a program that the county is looking to expand into other municipalities? And if it is, how could Essex participate? Just because looking at the number of people who are using the recreational assistance program, we might have a really large population of people who might benefit from a neighborhoods program.
Answer that question. There was some data that was published, and I would love to get the maps. If I can find them, I'll send them to you, where it looks at the county of Essex, and it focuses a lot on Leamington, and that is a high poverty area. And then there was another strip in Essex, or sorry, Amherstburg, that was quite high poverty, and actually Harrow and Essex were next. So you're right on with what you're saying. And when this has come to county council, I am advocating saying, like, we're right there too, but we're just not quite as bad as the other ones. But I understand what you're saying. We'll bring that forward any chance we can. And if I can find that visual, I will send it, but I can't make any promises. Any other questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Correspondence to be received. We have 13.1 and we'll receive them all. And then if members wish to pull any out, we can. Looking for a mover and a seconder to receive the whole list. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Mady, all in favor? That's carried. Any members of council wish to pull out any items? Councillor Verbeek.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The first one being from the township of Brudenell, Lindock, and Raglan. And it is from the council in support of their OPP detachment board, requesting a letter to the province for more support of the VCAO, which is the Victims Crisis Assistance for Ontario. They're asking just for more recognition of this group, but more importantly, and most importantly, is that just more standardized notification about bail when people go out on bail, that the victims are notified. And so I just think that we should support them. And I would like us to also send a letter to our police board detachment to forward a letter as well.
Moved by Councillor Verbeek and supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that is a worthy cause to support. Any other comments from members of council? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on, Councillor Verbeek, you have another one? Just keep going.
At 13.1.5, of course, I'm looking at Councillor Molly Allaire's board letter as the chair of the Essex Region Conservation Authority to the province about the amalgamation. So I'm looking for a seconder on supporting this.
Sure. So 13.1.5 on the amalgamation of Ontario Conservation Authorities, moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by, Councillor Allard. And we'll link that with 3.17.
Yes, please.
That's okay with mover and seconder. Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. All in favor? That's carried. Anything else, Councillor Verbeek?
No.
Or any other council member?
Other.
Okay. All right. Going once, going twice. Moving on now to correspondence to be received and supported. Essex Fire and Rescue Services looking for a mover and a seconder that the correspondence be received and supported and that council proclaim May 4th as International Firefighters Day in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Mayor Shepley, Councillor Hammond.
Whereas firefighters dedicate their lives to the protection of life and property, and sometimes that dedication is in the form of countless hours volunteered over many years. In others, it is many selfless years working in the industry. In all cases, it risks the ultimate sacrifice of a firefighter's life. And whereas International Firefighters Day is a time where the community can recognize and honor the sacrifices that firefighters make to ensure that their communities and environment are as safe as possible, it is also a day in which current and past firefighters can be thanked for their contributions. And whereas International Firefighters Day is observed each year on the 4th of May, on where we remember the past firefighters who have died while serving our community or dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of us all, and show our support and appreciation to the firefighters worldwide who continue to protect us so well throughout the year. And whereas, hailing from all walks of life, they are our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, neighbors, and friends. They protect us without wanting of recognition or reward. In our time of need, they are there with courage, compassion, and loyalty. They are the essence of the true meaning of community.
All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Therefore, I, Sherry Bondi, Mayor of the Town of Essex, on behalf of Town Council and the community at large, now call upon all citizens of the Town of Essex, and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the day of May 4th in recognition of the patriotic service and dedicated efforts of our fire and rescue services personnel. Thank you. We have a flag request from ChildCAN, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, September 4th. That the request, looking for a mover and a seconder, that the request from ChildCAN for their flag to be flown be received and supported. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Allard, any questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. We have our committee meeting minutes, looking for a mover and a seconder to receive them. We have Coan Park, Arts, Culture, Tourism, Councillor Hammond, Councillor Guerin, any questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. We have a notice of motion.
Item 17.1.1. Oh, go ahead.
Through the chair, I'll start with the two new notices of motion that are going to be brought forward for presentment tonight only. And they'll be brought forward for consideration at the May 4th, 2026 regular council meeting. So the first notice of motion moved by Councillor Mady is that council direct administration to investigate concerns raised at a meeting held by the mayor and Ward 3 council members regarding Colchester Harbor and to return with a report providing recommendations regarding the below considerations: improving operations and customer service at the harbor, exploring if the harbor could be prepared earlier in the season. Administration shall report back with potential staffing recommendations, costs, and an implementation plan. The second notice of motion, also moved by Councillor Mady, is that council direct administration to review the seaweed levels at Colchester Harbor and to provide a report to council suggesting whether or not a seaweed management plan is required, and if so, to provide the objectives and projected costs of such seaweed management plan.
17.1.1, moved by Mayor Bondi, the council direct administration to request from the municipality of Lakeshore the number of dogs from the town of Essex impounded, and euthanized at Lakeshore Dog Pound due to the classification of no other choice. During 2025 and to date in 2026 with reasons, and to use such information to determine whether or not administration would suggest changes to the town dog pound contact. Moved by Mayor Bondi, seconded by Councillor Allard. Mayor Bondi, would you like to speak to it?
Our clerk director, Malin Globe, we since have an update.
So through the chair, just to provide some brief information on this notice of motion. So since this notice of motion was presented at our last regular council meeting, the clerk's department was able to reach out to the Lakeshore Dog Pound, and we were told that the information that we received, the statistics that we received, were not accurate. So there actually were no animals euthanized due to the classification of no other choice in 2025. But understanding that we did receive bad information, we do support the notice of motion still, because we want to get back to the dog pound and get correct information and figure out what actually happened in 2025 and to date in 2026 with the animals that were there.
Mayor Bondi, would you like to speak?
I was wondering if at some point, the CAO, myself, the Director of Legal and Legislative can meet with Lakeshore Town staff and perhaps the Lakeshore to discuss some of the concerns going on here, if that's possible.
The chair, yeah, I can reach out to administration over in Lakeshore and try to set something up.
Thanks.
Thanks through the chair. So this motion is asking us to, I just want to make sure that we're going to get full information and not just classification of no other choice. Like, are they putting multiple dogs down? How many dogs a year is it? What are the reasonings behind it? I'd like a full data, just because if that piece of information is incorrect, what else is, so we're going to get a full report is what I'm just making sure.
What the plan is yes, to go back to the dog pound and get as much information as we can about what has happened to the dogs over the last few years. And then administration's role is going to be to look at that information and determine whether or not we need to come to council with suggestions with regard to our current dog pound contract and whether or not we propose any changes to that contract.
I sit on the council committee meeting for the Lakeshore Dog Pound, and I've also wondered why we don't get any numbers, and they don't seem to give numbers out to the committee at all. I'm going to hurry up and follow up on this and make sure we get our numbers.
One comment that I mean, it's kind of related to this. I know I had a resident reach out to me, trying to find some of the information on the minutes for the meeting, and it wasn't, I had to go to the Lakeshore website to find it. So I'm glad to see that we've got something on our website and hope that going forward. Appreciate that. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that carries.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Since our last regular council meeting, there's been several positive initiatives and important updates in our community. The county recently hosted an election readiness session in preparation for the municipal election that is coming October 26th. It was a great opportunity for those interested in serving the community to learn more about the process. I encourage anyone who's considered running in the next election to visit the local municipal website for more information. We've also continued to see strong community involvement through our local cleanup efforts. Most recently, volunteers came together in Guesto and along the main street in Essex. Sorry. Thank you to everyone who took part. Your efforts are truly making a difference. The town is also having a cleanup on May 2nd, and it's on our social media. One of the most common items collected is cigarette butts. So I kindly remind everyone to dispose of them properly. That has been an ongoing thing in every cleanup that we come across. At the latest Police Service Board meeting, we were reminded that seatbelt usage has started to decline. I don't know why. It's first I've heard of it in a long time, so I thought it was worth bringing up. It's important and it's a simple safety measure, so please remember to buckle up. I'd also like to congratulate a couple of our local outstanding businesses. At the annual awards hosted by Tourism Windsor Essex, both OG Pizza and Cooper's Hawk Winery were recognized of Best of Windsor. We also were proud to be nominated for the best beach. We didn't win this year, but we still think it's the best beach. Administration is currently working on a simple checklist for the senior tax initiative. We look forward to sharing more information soon with the goal of helping seniors and individuals with disabilities across our municipality to have clear and accessible way to look to apply. Last Thursday, many of us attended the final Warden's Banquet, where we reflected on and celebrated the accomplishments this term of County Council alongside our colleagues across the county. This past Saturday, Councillors Allard and Mady joined me along with Councillor Hammond, Councillor Allard and Mady, the Ward 3 reps, Councillor Hammond, the Harrow rep. We went to the Portuguese Club for a community discussion on the proposed jet ski initiative and other harbor-related concerns. It was great to see a high turnout, and I want to thank everybody who participated and shared ideas to continue to make positive improvements. This Sunday, I had a chance to meet with volunteers at Balance Wellness, where we prepared cleanup kits for an upcoming Cleanup Mother Earth event, which will take place Saturday, May 9th at Essex Home Hardware. Residents will be able to plant seeds, enjoy educational presentations, and take part in crafts for children. You'll also be able to take a cleanup kit away from you, and you can hashtag to enter to win a bag of goodies from the charity yard sale that's going to be held May 23rd at the Hare Arena. I want to thank the volunteers for putting that event together. Finally, Councillor Verbeek and I will be hosting a free book giveaway this Saturday. Today, we actually did a book convoy. I want to thank to Mike and Nettie, who also helped. We trucked 50-something boxes of books today, and that was just a half of it, not even, maybe not half. We encourage you to spread the word, invite friends and families and neighbors. There'll be a wide selection of free books available, all genres and all ages, at the McGregor Community Center this Saturday from 9 to 1. We hope to see you there, and a sincere thank you to GFL Environmental for making this event possible by sponsoring the room. Do any council members have greetings? Councilor McGuire, please.
Thanks to the chair. I just want to once again congratulate Santa's Village. We attended the TWEPI Award Show. They were nominated for Best Festival, Winter Festival. Although they did not win, I have to say that it is a huge honor to be compared to such events as Windsor Light Festival. Our event is dependent on sponsorship solely, while events like Windsor's cost millions of taxpayers' dollars. So it was really good just to be in the same category. I too also attended the Warden's Lunch, and it was great to hear the state of the county after 4 years. Big movements made with the battery plant, new hospital, new county roads, and the expected growth that we're looking forward to. This past Friday was the fire department's charity hockey game. So thank you to everybody who came out to that. They asked for a donation to the food bank, and volunteers from all of our 3 stations battled it out against Amherstburg in an 8-10 loss. But it was a really good game, and hopefully that we can do it again. And maybe next year we can see about getting these guys some free ice time so they don't have to pay out of pocket for a charity game. I also wanted to just mention that over the weekend, we've in Ward 1, I'm not sure about the other wards, but Ward 1 has experienced several car break-ins. On camera, we can see some young people pulling up to people's houses. They look to see if the doors are locked or unlocked, and they take what they can out of the car. So it's a quick grab. So I just want to remind people to lock your cars, especially those with the garage door buttons. Because if your car door is unlocked and they click that garage door button, then they have access to your home. So please lock your cars. We have reached out to the OPP to ask for a little bit more patrol and a little bit more social media awareness on the dangers of leaving your car unlocked. Times are changing, and I know we're going to see on Facebook, this isn't the Essex that I grew up in. And unfortunately, that's where we're at in today's day and age. So just make sure you're locking your cars, remind your kids, remind your parents, remind your neighbors, because it is happening in our community. So be safe out there. Thank you.
Blaze, good report. Councillor Hammond.
I'd like to invite everybody to join us at the School of St. Anthony's as the town of Essex, along with the faculty and the students, celebrate Earth Day with the planting of a new tree. 9:15 a.m. Be there.
The other members of council? Seeing none, bylaws requiring a third and final reading. Bylaw 2519, being a bylaw for the street names of Sunset Drive and Dubas Drive to be read third and finally passed on April 20th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Guerin. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Bylaw 2520, being a bylaw for street name A in Colchester Heights Residential Subdivision, Ross Crescent, being a bylaw to name street name A, the Colchester Heights, to be read third and finally passed on April 20th. Moved by Councillor McGuire Blaze, supported by Councillor Mady. I do have a question. Colchester Heights, I'm getting already some residents that are saying that their addresses are getting mixed up. And I know, I'm sorry. I should have. We're getting some people in Ambassador Beach are getting mail from Colchester Heights. And I know that that's something up to the developer, but it's really something that we have to fix because it's brand new. We have to fix this.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. So first and foremost, we will, and we have spoken with the developer to ensure that they change the address that they've identified to some banks and utility companies and maybe even the real estate agents. That we cannot control. However, we will ensure that we work closely with the developer to share the concerns of residents. Still only draft approved, meaning that the lots have not been created, meaning that the lots are not registered with the Ontario Land Registry Office, meaning that they technically do not have addresses. And so it is still one large parcel and the address technically still is 0 County Road 50 West. The street naming bylaw tonight that council has adopted is one of the steps. However, as we're aware, the final approval of the subdivision from the county planner is required prior to registering the lots and the addresses alongside. My building team has already numbered them in the hopes that council is going to adopt the street name tonight. So they're ready. They've assigned the numbers provisionally, but we'll register those with the ORO when LRO when it's time.
Any other questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. A bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 7th regular meeting of council to be read a third time, finally passed on April 20th. Bless you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Bylaws requiring a second and third and final reading. We have our bylaw 2521. We do have our proponents in the audience. So at this time, I'd like to see if council would like to listen to them. I think you've prepared something. Okay, Director Malandrucolo, do I need a motion of council or because they're on the agenda they can?
Because we knew that this was a possibility, so we put them on the agenda already and you guys approved them, so they're able to speak without a motion.
Welcome. If you want to go back to the delegation podium, you can walk through your presentation that you worked on.
Okay, thank you for having us for, I think, a third time now. It's a small proposal that we put together in such a short period of time. It's not saying overly something new that you guys probably already heard. I'll just put it in kind of like a neatly matter. So it's just key rental business proposal. We can go to the next slide. We have our business overview. It's of course a seasonal business. We start from May to September. It's in Colchester Harbor. Of course, we're targeting residents and tourists. Our goal is going to be like licensed, of course, regulated. Everything will be insured, and our fleet will be up to date, like modern jet skis. Everything will be almost brand new, I would say. If you can go to the next slide. Our location, we pulled the map that was submitted to us. It's gonna be in D Dock. That's where the launch and the return will be going from. It's in a safe distance from the swimmers and the boats, and everything will be marked on maps for whoever's gonna be coming to rent those jet skis. So everything will be marked. This map will be like everything, like we have already maps to see like the 200 foot line that we put away from the shore and all that. So everything will be mapped out. If you can go to the next slide, please. Our daily operations, we start at 10 a.m. And up to 8 p.m. Of course, weather is going to be a factor for that. And it's not going to be always till 8 p.m. It depends on the clientele we have. I mean, I hope so. Our booking system is, as we mentioned before, is going to be online, so nothing will be taken as a walk-ins or anything like that. Everything will be done through our platform. There's staff, of course, at all times, and one of us will be there all times as well. And there will be a pre and post ride inspections for the jet skis and the equipment we have on board. You can go to the next slide. Our safety measures, as we mentioned before, there is the life jackets that will be provided to every rental. The safety kit comes with the jet ski. A safety briefing will be done as long as with the video that we'll be providing prior the rental. It's 18 plus, so nobody without a license or under 18 will be able to get on the machines. The boating license or the temporary boating license will be of course required to rent. And as we did talk before, or not before, last Saturday about the speed limits, and some people were not very happy about the speed limit. About the speed limits. So we're gonna guard down the jet skis for lower speeds. And again, yeah, the instructional videos that will be completed prior the dispatch. Can you go next slide, please? Our advanced safety systems that I don't think a lot of jet ski rental companies do have is the the GPS trackers and all the units. There's gonna be actually multiple. So if somebody were to figure out where they are, there's another one that is gonna be on board. The emergency shutoff will be on lanyard, so it's gonna be attached to your jet ski. As long as the remote ignition, the kill switch, that will be that we can do it from our phones. So if somebody were going to an area that they shouldn't be, we can shut them down and tell them back, or if they just follow the instructions to go back or get away from this area. And of course, we're gonna have mounted walkie-talkies in all the machines. Go to the next slide. Our training and certification for the staff that will be hiring. We're first aid certified CPR by the Red Cross. And whoever is going to be working with us will have the same certification. A boating license will have to be like with the staff as well. The emergency response training, we came up with a plan for the emergency response training, and we'll be working on that with staff in case anything were to go south. There'll be ongoing staff evaluation, of course. Every month we'll have the meeting so we can evaluate our performances and how we can get better. We're gonna be doing a system that we came up with level 1 and level 2 machine inspection. Level 1 is an inspection that will be done with every return. So every rental will come in and we'll have to do a level 1 inspection on it. And we'll sticker the machine with a sticker that says that it was inspected on that day. And that will be with every rental. And then every week on the weekends or on a week, the day that we won't be operating, we'll do a level 2 inspection, which is gonna be more in depth. We'll check like oil and make sure like there's nothing clogged or anything like that. So it's gonna be a little bit more mechanically in depth. Every season, I didn't mention that we'll have the level 3 inspection that has to be done with a licensed mechanic. So we pull out all machines after the season is done, and we get them, I'll say, inspected more in depth after every season. If you can go to the next slide, please. Environmental protection. It's a modern jet ski. It's not like a turbo or anything like that. So it's very low emission. Nothing like crazy, I would say. The no wake zones in the harbor for sure. We were informed by some people in our last meeting that they have some problems with the wildlife, so we'll have some guidelines for that as well. The regular maintenance that will prevent like any leaks or anything that can pollute the environment, and that will be done through our level 2s that will be done weekly. Next slide is noise and community impact. The distance that we will be operating the jet ski off of after they launch, we're going more than 100 feet, but we did some math, and if we are at about 150 feet to be exactly accurate, the noise of the jet skis will be about 68 decibels, which is equivalent to a vacuum machine. So it's not really that loud. So it's not going to be any problem with the noise, I hope. The controlled over operating hours for sure. So we won't be open like at 7 a.m. so people won't be like bothered by any noise. And the limited number of units that we just have 4 units. 3 of them will be dispatched, so it's not gonna be like crazy traffic or anything like that. Complaint response. So we did already know some of the hopefully future neighbors that we will have. We did talk to them, and we're gonna be always available for any complaints that might occur, and that's when we have our meetings with our staff and we try to fix that. And of course, the community engagement is gonna be the same thing. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the economic benefits, we're getting local job creations. Of course, it's gonna be seasonal staff, but it's another job opportunity that we can open in this area. Increasing the tourism traffic, supporting the nearby businesses, restaurants, retreats, and stuff in the area that will have more attractions for the tourists, which I believe will really help Colchester in whole. Permits, licensing revenue, long-term waterfront activation, so people actually know more about the harbor. So hopefully that will like draw more attention to the harbor. You know, the next slide. The risk management and liability. We're having mandatory liability waivers that will be signed upon every rental. Comprehensive and liability insurance coverage that will be with us for sure. Incident reporting system. Again, that's with every return. That's a part of our level 1 inspection. If anything were to happen, an incident were to happen on the road, or sorry, not on the road, on the water, that will be reported as well and recorded. The routine maintenance check, the level 1 and the level 2s, as we mentioned before, and of course compliance with all regulations. Next slide, please. This is not showing properly. There was some pictures, but I apologize about that. What are we basically requesting is the approval to operate the waterfront designated space, the 10 by 10 tent that we did mention, the permits and licensing agreement, and the partnership with the TAN. If you can go to the next slide. What we'll be offering is the safe operation, responsible for sure, economically beneficial, as we mentioned, and community focused to get Colchester to grow. And we did put that in a short period of time, as we mentioned, and we're open to any questions and discussions. Thank you.
Putting that together, and almost more importantly, for coming out Saturday to the crowd. Questions, comments from members of council? Our deputy mayor is in conflict, so he won't be commenting or voting. But Councillor Allard.
I have a few questions, actually. Are you going to be operating during the fishing derbies? We have fishing derbies down there on a couple weekends during the summer. Will you guys be operating at the same time?
I did not know about the fishing derby. we can might have help over here.
Mayor, yeah, pending this does go through with council, we would work with them on some important dates that would be going on in the area so that they're aware of the increased traffic and some of the increased people. For example, the young kids fishing that happens off of the dock. We would make them aware of all that stuff that's going on in the area. But first step would be that they're in the position to be able to do this as approved by council, and then we'd work with them.
You said age 18. That's for the driver. You could have a passenger that could be a child.
Operating the jet ski would need a temporary boating license, so anybody on the jet ski would have to be at least a passenger or driver.
Other council members that have questions? Councilor Meady.
Thank you. Thank you again, guys. Saturday wasn't too bad, right? Good. I did, there was one concern that one of the residents brought up that might impact your operations, and that was the not being able to operate the watercraft within 100 meters. Did you guys look into that rule? Is that an actual rule?
150 feet off the beach. That's what we looked up. And it's not within the no wake zone. So within like the marina itself or the harbor itself, it's not, as long as it's not like a beach. So we're not actually like there's no acceleration of the machine. So it's not going to be a problem.
Mayor, so in the lease agreement that we wrote up, we did specify a further distance from the beach, which was 200 meters, to make sure that it was extremely safe for anybody that would be operating there or in the swimming area.
Wanted to note that in the lease agreement, it says that if the operators are in offense of any laws or bylaws that might apply to their operations, then they're in offense of the lease and they have to correct those offenses.
Thank you. Just for a little more clarification on that then. So I know there's no swimming allowed in our harbor, but the houses that are there and that border that, is that like their beach? Are they allowed to swim there?
Mayor, I'm looking at the map. To be honest, I don't know those specific regulations for swimming from those houses right there. But there is what appears to be a road allowance that would be ownership of the town of Essex that's fronting on a number of the water's edge properties. I don't have that specific information, but I can certainly look that up and get back to you.
Thank you then, and through your worship, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make the motion that we only read it for one more reading tonight then, so there'd be time to get that information back.
For Hammond, then Councilor Beak.
This is for administration, through you, Chair. Well, what kind of records are we going to be keeping regarding this operation and any mishaps that happen? Or is there going to be regular documentation down at the harbor?
Mayor, similar to what we do with the houseboats, we do have a document log. So anytime that there's an issue, it's reported to the management staff as well as documented in the log, so that we can have proof of issues and corrective actions that go with that.
Councilor Hammond, then Councilor Beak, then Councilor Garen. I'm just trying to, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to decide how many votes it would take for one more reading versus two readings. So Director Malanjuclo, can you just please share with council just so everybody knows?
We're into the town's procedural bylaw. If you are only going to read the bylaw for one time, then you would need a 50% plus one vote in order to pass the one reading. And so with Deputy Mayor Shapley abstaining, there would be 7 voters. So 50% of 7 would be 3.5. So 50% plus 1 is four voters in favor would pass a one reading. If you wanted to do 2 readings as a council, you would need 2/3 of your council to be in favor. 2/3 of 7 is a little bit under 5, so you would need 5 people in favor if you wanted to do 2/3 today. So 4 people for 1 reading, 5 people in favor for 2 readings.
Get that on the table. Councillor Verbeek, then Councillor Guerin.
Okay, thanks through you, Madam Mayor. I was just trying to digest all that. I just wanted to say to the proponents, I thought you have done very well with informing us, giving us, Director Morissette gave us the information that he was going to enter into this discussion with you weeks, if not maybe 2 months ago. And I was happy with your presentation at our last meeting. I really was. I feel like you've addressed all the safety issues. You've listened to the community, and then you even came out on Saturday and listened again. You've taken the steps to address these issues. Clearly, I'm in support of moving forward and letting you work with administration and take your next steps, purchase all the things you need to do, set up for a successful season. I believe that this would be beneficial to some of our businesses, that our restaurants, our bar, and the Grove. I could see that they could take some spin-off from this. I can imagine some groups of people renting rooms in order to make this ski-doo experience part of a weekend. I think that we've done very well at the harbor getting the nomination, and maybe just this could be one more nudge to getting us the best harbor in next year's Twerpy Awards.
For Guerin?
Through the mayor, yeah, just quickly, Jake, what is the approximate distance from the total dock when you come out of the harbor, the edge of that dock to the beach area? What is that distance?
Mayor, I'm trying to figure out which area you're looking.
The actual straight dock right from you come up Jackson right to the end of it. What is that distance?
So the distance of the pier?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I can get that number for you. It's approximately 125 meters. And that would be from the start where it would delineate from the basically where the turnaround is at the driveway, the light pole.
Squire Blaze?
Thanks for the chair. I just want to mimic Councillor Verbeek's sentiments. I am in support of this. I think you guys have done a great job. I think it'll definitely bring something new and unique to the area. I love that it is you have to register ahead of time, so it's no walk-ins, which will help control everything. So I think you guys have done a lot of research. I think you've put a lot of thought into it, and I think you've considered the community in your endeavor. So I congratulate you on that alone. I do have a question for Councillor Mady. Just because you're wanting to go to one reading, and that reading is dependent on if the people who live on that harbor space can swim in the water or not.
Squire Blaze, you have to ask your question through the chair. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't say that at the beginning?
No, just
The chair. Procedural rules say that you can ask a question in general. You can't ask a question to another person, another counselor. So you can ask your question in general to the chair. And if somebody else might want to provide some response to that question, we could do that, but you can't ask directly to another council member.
Oh, how come I can ask it, like I can say this question is directed at administration?
Because administration are not your other decision makers. So rules of decorum say that you can't ask directly to people across from you. It's to avoid potential conflicts of interest when you speak at each other. So everything's through the chair.
All right. Politics through the chair, or to the chair, or somebody answer my question. It's gonna have to be Counselor Mady because he's the one who said it. What would make the difference be, like, what if the residents can swim in the water? They're doing it already now and there's boats in the water. And if they can't swim in the water, are we going to get them in trouble? Like, I don't understand why we're postponing, why the request is to postpone. So I guess I'm looking for some clarification on why you'd like to postpone 2 readings. Because if someone's swimming in the water or not, when there's already boat activity.
Okay, thank you, Counselor McGuire Blaze. I do have Counselor Hammond, and then we'll come back to you, Counselor Mady. Counselor Hammond?
Administration, it says here we're reading a second and third time. So Counselor Mady's asking for just to be read the second time until more information comes back. I can tell you right now, nobody swims in the harbor. It's just too polluted. If they go swimming, they go swimming on the beach. But in hindsight, I'd like to note, I'm asking, his request still has to be passed through a vote, correct? And to pass it a third time, we need how many?
So through the chair, you would need 5 people in favor in order to pass the 2 readings at once. If you're passing 1 reading today and then at the next meeting you go for an additional reading, for both readings, if Deputy Mayor Shepley continues to abstain, you will only need 4. So you could pass, it would pass the third and final reading at a standalone meeting with 4 votes if Deputy Mayor Shepley abstains.
I think we should get a motion on the table, and then we'll see how it goes. Counselor Mady, you asked to make a motion. The floor is yours.
I thought there is a motion. Oh.
No. Counselor Hammond, turn off your mic.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. If there's anybody listening, I don't want to speak to a fellow counselor directly, but the the reason that I asked for the 1 reading tonight, there was a couple things alongside. That was just the first point. I didn't feel like I needed to take up any more airtime to go over other points if we were going to read it only 1 time tonight. But that being an important reason is that first off, if that is the rule, that is the law, and that these guys cannot operate when somebody's swimming in that water, then they might want to look at a different dock. We might want to give them a different space if we do forward. Otherwise, somebody goes out for a swim and they have to shut down their business for it. So that's where that was kind of going. Not to second, as far as swimming in the harbor goes, just at the last meeting when we were talking about this, they were talking about people jumping off boats into the harbor at the Airbnbs, I guess you would call them, or the houseboats that are constantly there. So there is people that swim in the water. I also live on a stretch of beach that has a lot of jet ski activity. And unfortunately, I was able to be there when somebody was swimming in the water and a jet ski hit them. And that person's never been the same person in their life. So I know what could happen when this happens and why there's regulations for the safety and stuff like that. So I have some real concerns about it. And that's the reason why I'm asking for the 1 reading, so that we do have time to vet it properly, make sure that everything is there. Other factors would be like making sure that buoy line is in the water for our beach, making sure that those people are going to be safe in the water, making sure that, I know you guys will be able to have some geofencing around your machines and maybe even turn them off when they go to that beach. The last thing I want to see is somebody that goes and access that beach and then you guys get blamed for it. That somebody goes to that beach and has, what the jets get, kind of looks like yours and drinks and comes back onto that water, and you guys now are the sore thumb sticking out there. I just want to make sure that everybody gives the proper due and attention that's needed for activity like this. That's why I asked for it, and that's why I'm making the motion that we read it 1 more time tonight and have a chance for a little further input.
So maybe it's although it's only a small jet ski business, it is a big deal. It is a change down there, and I think that the support is you're gaining support. So I will support Councillor Mady's motion because I do believe that the local papers both came out and reported on the issue, and this gives us 2 more weeks for more feedback because I feel like you can never have enough public consultation, and I think we're working through a lot of things. I know that Councillor Mady also has more motions on the table, talking to more staff supervision down there, which I think is actually key for your business. So I would like to actually have a chance to discuss that before we finalize this. So I'll be supporting the motion. Anybody speaking to the motion? Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Councillor Guerin.
Thanks, through the mayor. Just my comments on some of Councilor Mady's comments. You want to swim in the harbor now, you have boats around there as well, whether they're jet skis, boats. People that are going out in their boats have to be responsible. Anybody on the water, running a watercraft needs to be responsible. There's no saying tomorrow that somebody can't go down to that dock with the owner's permission of boat without a license, jump on that boat and go out in it. So I think we're getting a little picky when it comes to what we're looking at in terms of the business or anything else down at that harbor. I mean, we're talking about a seasonal business. They've done a good job presenting it. I respect your opinion. I think the delay of the second and third reading is, I don't agree with that at all. So I'm not going to support the motion. Those are my thoughts on it.
The motion.
Back on what Mr. Guerin's saying here through you. Again, like there's nothing stopping anybody from driving down there, using our ramp, putting a jet ski in, and having no direction whatsoever. There's nothing stopping somebody from doing that. These guys are offering at least some sort of direction with some rules that anybody else can go down there and not have.
Anybody else that hasn't spoken to the motion?
And to the motion, through the mayor, full respect for the motion and the motion maker. I'm not in support of kicking this can down the road anymore. I also agree with what Councillor Hammond just said. It's exactly where I was headed. Any one of those residents that live along there that can swim in the water can also drive a jet ski off of shore or come from anywhere, or, offload at our marina and drive all over with no regulations and no safety precautions in place. These fellas want to operate a business with 3 jet skis, and I don't think they could put any more safety precautions in place. And I don't want to, handcuff them anymore. I'd like to give them the go ahead so they can start moving forward for the season on this. If it doesn't work, we don't do it next year.
For your motion. Okay. Anybody that any counselor has not spoke to the motion, there is no motion. Okay, then I need a new motion, council. Councilor McGuire, please.
The motion that is proposed with 2 reading, second and third reading tonight.
Seconded by Councillor Hammond. Everybody gets 1 comment to this motion. Okay, Councillor Mady.
I won't be supporting this motion. And I do believe that there is a big difference between when you allow a commercial entity to run as opposed to just any resident going out and doing something. It's a distinction that should be in the forefront of our minds.
Speaking to the motion.
Good vote.
Director Malindrew-Kalo, Councillor Verbeek has asked for a recorded vote.
Mayor Bondi, Councillor Verbeek has requested a recorded vote. Councillor Verbeek, how do you vote?
Support.
Councillor Verbeek supports. Councillor Allard, how do you vote? Councillor Allard supports. Councillor McGuire Blaze, how do you vote? Councillor McGuire Blaze supports. Councillor Guerin, how do you vote?
Support.
Councillor Guerin supports. Councillor Hammond, how do you vote? Councillor Hammond supports. Councillor Mady, how do you vote? Councillor Mady opposes. Mayor Bondi, how do you vote? Mayor Bondi opposes. By a vote of 5-2, the motion is passed. So the second and third reading have passed, and then it was finally passed on April 20th.
Thank you. Congratulations. Administration will be in touch. Thank you. You're all set. We do look forward to seeing you. And thank you for coming out Saturday as well. Okay. Bylaws that require first, second, and third and final reading. Bylaw 2524 being a bylaw to appoint a deputy clerk for the town of Essex. Be read a first, second, third time, finally passed on April 20th. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Bylaw 2526 being a bylaw to establish tax rate and additional charges for the municipal, county, and education purposes for 2026. Be read first, second, third time, and finally passed on April 20th. Moved by Councillor Guerin, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. So now we need to admit that we forgot something. It's been quite the day, quite the night, and I'm a little under weather. I need to request council support that the motion that was sent to administration that we accidentally missed on the flooding task force get entered into the agenda. So I actually probably should hand this over.
I want to apologize to council. There was another notice of motion that I was asked to bring for presentment tonight, and with council's permission, I will bring it for presentment. Presentment only to be considered at the next council meeting. So if Deputy Mayor Shepley wants to get a motion on the table and allow me to amend the agenda to bring this, I will bring the notice of motion tonight.
Moved by Mayor Bondy, seconded by Councillor Laird. Joe. Oh, all in favor? Opposed? And that carries.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Shepley. The following notice of motion is being brought for presentment tonight and will be considered at the May 4th regular meeting of council. Whereas the town of Essex has experienced recurring flooding events that have impacted this is moved by Mayor Bondy. Whereas the town of Essex has experienced recurring flooding events that have impacted residents, infrastructure, and local businesses, and whereas these flooding issues may be influenced by a combination of factors including stormwater management, aging infrastructure, land use patterns, and climate-related changes, and whereas a coordinated evidence-based approach is necessary to identify root causes and develop effective long-term solutions, now therefore be it resolved that council hereby directs administration to establish a flooding task force to investigate underlying causes of recurring flooding within the municipality, review existing stormwater systems, drainage infrastructure, and flood mitigation measures, engage with relevant experts, including engineers, environmental specialists, and regional authorities, consult with residents and affected stakeholders to gather input and local knowledge, identify immediate, medium-term, and long-term mitigation strategies, and provide recommendations to council, including cost estimates and potential funding opportunities. Be it further resolved that such flooding task force shall report back to council with findings and actionable recommendations, and that council direct administration to provide administrative support and coordinate necessary resources for the task force work, and that council direct administration to provide council with the terms of reference for such flooding task force 6 months following the passing of this resolution.
Bylaws that require a first and second reading. Bylaw 2528 be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted April 20th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Mady. All in favor? That's carried. Tomorrow, council is in a full day closed session with Integrity Commissioner training and a tour of NWIN, and then join us back on Monday, April 27th for a special zoning meeting on County Road 50 and the Essex Home Hardware location. Looking to council for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Guerin, Councillor Deputy Mayor Shepley, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.